There's a war in the feeling, they ain't keeping it real. They think it's easy to peel just cause they flipping those bills. The only vote is for heal, but if I trump it'll cost. We already walking dead in the land of the lost. I've been taking it way back, say Jack. Been my own wicked woman on the track while you twerking in the trap. I'm gonna get them plaques, yeah, my mind is on them racks. I'm just stating loosely facts, go and get that contact with your loose leaf ass. Leaning on the wall with your bathroom pass. Need a Wonder Woman in your life, how fast? How I'm gonna tell the truth, but you puff pass. Speak my vernacular. Speak my vernacular. Speak my vernacular. She back, for unlawful carnal knowledge. I'm wedged into worry while they suck and hurry. I'm just skating, do my derby. Watch these cameras all pervert me. Won't respect my name and dirt me, but I woke up early. Even when I'm fucking late, I'm applesauce and frosting the cake. Bake your plate A while they ingenuities ace. I'm planning an escape with the Save the World 10.8. Love potion number 9, fine dine. I want a piece of American pie. Lie under pudding pop shop that I ate the chocolate up. Why they tell me Californication, Afro on Rodeo blaxploitation, and all this to the congregation.
From the heart of the city to the outer edges of the Beltway and beyond, this is the District of Misfits show, the drinking show with a podcast problem. This is your guide into our unique and beautiful city, the good, the bad, the ugly, as well as the funny and straight up ridiculous. Told by us before someone tells it for us. The opinions expressed on this show are our own, and we make no apologies.
What is going on, my heathens in heathen land in the city of DC? Hello.
Hi.
Tonight's show is just a tip. Part 2. Vote no on 82. You like that rhyme? You like that?
That's
Like I
cute.
did that?
It's all right.
It's studio tonight. I got Miss Valerie Torres and that other girl, Laura.
Thanks, Marcus.
So if you've ever seen me on U Street or somewhere kind of blacked out drunk, it's her fault.
It's my
Most
fault.
likely Laura's fault.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry,
it's
it's our fault. I mean,
definitely.
give me a
Definitely.
shot. I mean, I'm not mad at the shot size of the tequila, but goddamn.
Yeah.
Give me a water with it at once.
At least. At least.
For fuck's
Stay
sake.
hydrated.
Save me from dying. That's what it is.
You know, Bradley likes to make a visit every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. He was there here last night. I would like to
Oh
say.
yeah. He made a guest appearance last
Was
night.
he though? What did he do?
He punched his friend in the face. Friend whose birthday it was, whose house we were at.
Wait, I punch him again?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, no, just the one time.
Oh, I didn't know. I hit him in the ear. Actually, that's the worst.
Yeah. Yes, he like slapped him in the ear.
Boxed him in his ears.
He jumped on trying to kill me, which he had every right. I did not mean to hit him that hard. Like his wife's like, go ahead and smack him. So I went over there and smacked him, and I was like,
Oh, man,
I heard the sound. I'm like, oh.
you got the permission though.
And then like
I did.
Marcus texted me, he's like, "Are you coming?" I need your help." He's like,
Like shit out somebody. Bring
he's
me
like,
booze.
"Bruce and I got in a fight." And I was like, "What?"
I mean, we were fine. I smacked the shit out of him. And he had every right to get upset.
So then by the time I got there, then Bradley was there already. And I was like, cool.
Great.
I'm going to have a drink.
Yeah. Speaking
Shut
of,
up, Megan.
Speaking of,
Speaking of,
Speaking
cheers.
of, we're in our first 10 minutes, so let's not up.
you know what?
we can't curse Laura. We have 6 minutes left.
Oh,
10-minute rule. Can't do it.
Oh,
It's
really?
the algorithm.
Really
Yeah, man.
interesting.
I know.
That's okay.
It's
I'll
challenging.
Try, yeah, I know. I'll
I
try
I
my
mean,
best.
it's
I know that we've like
Like
it's
we-
YouTube's fault. I blame YouTube.
me. Oh,
YouTube.
I thought
Like
you said
YouTube.
YouTube. I was like, what?
YouTube's.
YouTube. I blame YouTube. Actually, if there's two people get me drunker than anybody besides myself, it's both of you, bartenders.
I mean,
I mean, that's why I do
we
tip.
might rival last time. when
Yeah.
we
I have to tip
PG
very
and
well.
Seltzers.
I have to tip very well. Therefore, I try not to act the fool. But in case I do, here's like a little babysitting money ahead of time.
Babysitting money.
What is that?
That's essentially what we are sometimes.
How was your week, guys? Before we pull everybody else in, how was your week?
Do I want to do call to actions
Yeah, we can do that.
first?
Yeah, go right ahead, Mama.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us now, you're watching the District of Misfits show, the drinking show with a podcast problem. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at the District of Misfits show, on Twitter at DC Misfits, on YouTube, the District of Misfits show. Please like and subscribe. You can find previous episodes of the District of Misfits show, in addition to some other content of different podcasts that we are producing. On Twitch, you can find us at District of Misfits. If you'd like to find and buy some gear like my tank top that I'm wearing, or my hoodie that I think is going to be discontinued soon, but
Awesome.
you can find those at CrushingDC.com and a lot of other different lovely things. If you'd like to create your own podcast, or if you'd like to be a guest on our show, you can email us at DISTRICTDOGFACESTUDIO@gmail.com. I am turning down my volume.
All right. Hey, Sarah, in the green room, I put a link to the YouTube page of the thing.
Hopefully they didn't hear it.
All right, here we go. Yes, Megan, no bad words yet. Give it time now. Andrew's doing signs. Good job, Andrew. We were proud of you.
No, yeah, he is. He's saying that yes on 82 signs are annoying as beep. Guys, it's the longest I've ever gone without cursing, and I did just drop the S-bomb, but it was kind of quiet, so hopefully.
You gotta...
Hi, Bo, all the way from Maine.
Hey, boo.
Yeah, you're due for to come on the show again, sir.
Yeah, man.
All right, guys, let's get the safe words out. We'll do us three, and I'll bring everybody else in.
All right.
Safe words. I'm already sweating.
Maybe your safe word should be sweaty.
Laura, what's your safe word?
My safe word is going to be gumbo.
All right.
That's I got my hot sauce from the gumbo shop in New Orleans here. What?
Why'd you go to the gumbo shop? First of all, let me smack the shit out of you.
Why not?
It's delicious, okay? And
You
I
need
make
to
it
be
hot
not
sauce.
so snobby about
I know.
That's like going to Bubba Shrimps.
You're so snobby, okay? Don't be so
I only lived there
snobby.
for like a year.
I go back. I've been there 15
Still,
times.
it wasn't
over
like you
20
still
years.
lived there for a year.
You know what? We'll go back. I thought you were planning on going back sometime soon.
We were
Not with her.
like
Not with her.
in
Jeez.
November.
Hey, Gumbo, Val, what you got?
Whiskey.
Well, speaking with the New Orleans theme, I am going to do etouffee.
Ooh.
All right, guys, let's bring in Sarah from Cravens We Trust podcast. That will be coming out very soon. She has it in her kitchen. She finally did it right for once. Good job, Sarah. Proud of you. Sarah, what's your safe word?
Made it.
What's your safe word, girl?
My safe word is bacon, because my vegetarian friend said she would text bacon if a date was going really bad, and then I'd have to tell her.
Oh, you're that friend for tonight. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's
I see that Bo said that it's harvest season at the moment. Do you need my
Yeah.
tiny little Asian hands to come and pick the things? Pick the buttons.
That's racist, yo. That's racist.
It's not racist if it's true. I have very tiny Asian hands.
We have good rice picking hands.
Yes, rice
Apparently.
picking and bud picking.
Mm-hmm.
I can accept that. We
Bo,
got
anytime, Val, you can come up.
50 seconds left, guys. 50 seconds. Can you make it, Laura?
It's very difficult.
I mean, technically, I already didn't make it, but nobody heard
I know.
it.
Yeah, but
stop, Bo.
So it doesn't count. Nobody heard it, so it doesn't count.
yeah, I heard it, but I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, just don't point
Didn't
it
count.
out.
Didn't count.
Don't point it out.
Do you see what?
All right, so let's
Anytime.
bring in the Mr. Tip guy. Just the tip guy. Just the tip. Where's he at? Maine?
He is
Yeah.
also in Maine.
Look at that O face.
Oh,
Hi, Joshua.
Hi, you guys.
I believe the
also
last show you were
lucky
on
here.
was the Pump and Dump show. Was that it? No, that was 2 years ago.
You can also find that lovely sweatshirt and t-shirts and tank tops with that design on our website, CrushingDC.com.
Branding,
10 minutes.
branding,
Val, fuck
branding.
you.
Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
Brand
All right, the
that
last
shit. Brand
one-
that shit.
All right,
Secure that bag.
get me your safe word, sir.
Flamingo, please.
All right,
Flamingo.
and let's bring Mr. Dylan in. You're muted, sir. Take it off.
What's up, y'all?
What's up,
What's going on?
Dylan?
How
How you doing?
you doing, sir?
I'm alive.
That
Always
works.
It's always
Have we
good.
I've
made
been
it to 10
drinking
minutes
for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
We
made
have
it.
made it to 10 minutes. Yes.
We had made it. All right, guys. To all of you, I shared the YouTube link for this link of the show in the private chat.
Okay.
Dylan, did
Feel
I cut
free.
you off? I wanted to make sure that I
No.
made the 10-minute
Okay,
mark
Laura,
because I wanted
stop.
to reference
When you-
how rideable your mustache looked.
You like
in
that?
here
Hold on,
this evening.
when you push one thing, Laura, it goes to like 20 different things.
I know. You like that? It's like this is Laura hijacking the chat like 20 times all over. Just wait till I got your Facebook open over here too, Marcus. Just wait and see what I post.
You gonna whip your dick out and start taking dick pics?
You bet. You're gonna go to Facebook jail with me.
For those who don't know, Laura
Going down together.
took my place as being the most jailed person in DC a couple years
Mhm.
ago. Once we started doing the show live on Facebook, I had to stop because if I get banned, we can't have the show.
Yeah,
So
then we're done.
we're done for that week.
Rolling account.
So Laura's taking my place of the hoodlum of the night.
I got you.
I have to say, I have only one person who's been sent to Facebook jail more than Laura, but he
Who?
lives in Indiana.
Oh.
Is he like
He
Laura?
has
Does he-
two. He has two alternate accounts because he's been banned. So much.
See? Get smart. It's making, I have an alternate account, and that one's been banned now. Every time that I get my main Facebook jail account goes to jail, and now the backup account gets banned with it. I'm like, man, they figured me out.
They fingered you
That's
out.
why you need another phone so you can tie it
Yes,
to the,
now,
the
now
other
I gotta
phone.
start doing. Now I gotta start doing hoe shit with like multiple phones
Laura,
I mean,
act like
you should be
that.
used to that.
like that.
So I see both sent us some pictures, huh?
I'm laughing at the chat here. District of Misfits, DC as fuck, crushing DC, pasteurized, and the show. All Laura
This is
hijacking the
Laura.
show. This is Laura.
Laura, I don't think I've ever banned somebody from the show within the show. I don't
There's a
want
first.
to ban us from our own chat.
Yeah, ban us from our own show. We're all canceled. Don't tell fucker
It's all
word.
done. It's all done.
We'll start setting you up in a separate account altogether.
Mhm.
You come over to the studio. Take your shoes off, Dan, if you're going to play in the house like that.
That's it.
All right, guys. How was everybody's week? Okay, cool. I got called a fucking redneck this week.
Yeah. The market.
Is there not truth to that,
Listen.
please?
No, there's not.
Listen.
No, sorry.
But what's the implication with redneck?
Just because I grew up where there are rednecks don't mean I am a redneck.
I
or
grew up
any-
with a lot of rednecks who would kill someone for my queer ass in high school. Like
Right.
I was out in high school, I had some very redneck friends who would kill someone if they called me a faggot. So,
I get it.
mean,
Listen, I have
you know,
redneck
I
friends.
don't know that there's a negative connotation with redneck. Like
I learned how
I
to
don't-
grow weed from rednecks. I learned how to do moonshine from redneck. I learned a lot, but I'm not a fucking redneck.
So to premise the story, so Marcus said there's this place in PG in where is it? Hyattsville, I guess. Is that right? No. Near the
That's
PG County.
Yeah, Hyattsville. It's at PG County Mall.
So it's like the what Dominion Brewery or something like that. Old Dominion Brewery. It's by the cinema, and they weirdly have really good sushi, and they have like good happy hour sushi specials.
Interesting.
So we go there
It's
every so often. It's usually on a Monday that we show up there. So like the two bartenders who work, they usually like recognize us when we go in there. When we sit down, there is this woman, a Latino woman who was rip shit drunk already. It was like 5:30 in the afternoon, and she was hammer time. And she was sitting next to a guy who was like, I guess he was like kind of hitting on her, and he like offered to buy her. I wasn't really paying attention, but like he offered to buy her a shot, and so he bought her a shot, and then she got offended, and she was just like,
Even after he asked her.
And
he
like
asked her to buy a shot.
She was so drunk she couldn't she couldn't wrap her head around it, and so like she was like, I don't need you to buy me a shot, and she was like, fuck you, and she was like telling him to fuck off. And then she said, because she clearly was a little bit like, she's ignorant, like she just couldn't think of any other way to insult him, so then she started calling him a faggot, and I was just like, ma'am. And she was being really loud about it too. And she was like, I don't fuck with faggots. And she's like, fuck you. And she kept throwing trying to push the thing back to him. But then he was like undeterred. He kept still trying.
He had good. He got A for effort.
Yeah. And she would it was like a kind of like, cat and mouse. Like she'd sometimes be like, fuck you, and then she'd be like, yeah, come over here, and like it was stupid. But she was, the main thing is that she was super loud and belligerent, and she was absolutely hammered. And so then at some point, then she starts being like rude to the bartender. She's like, mommy, come over here, mommy. And like it's like, they're clearly busy on the other side of the road. I mean, the other side of the bar. Can you please, like, I'm now starting to break out in sweat because like I'm like, so this is giving me anxiety because like,
and at this point I go to the bathroom.
If it had been my bar, she would have been cut off a long time ago, and I would have asked her to leave.
Yeah.
But they were just sort of like, I guess she comes there pretty often, and
clearly,
yeah, she was just being god awful. And then Marcus goes and gets up and goes to the bathroom, and she starts just going after the bartenders at this time. Now she's accusing them of like ignoring her, and like, you ignoring me, you didn't give me. And they were like, well, we're not ignoring you, we're not serving you anymore. And then she was like, she's talking to her new boyfriend. She's like, they obviously know they're not getting any tips. And then she starts like mouthing off to this one woman. She starts calling her a bitch. And then that's when I was like, no, ma'am. And I started slamming on the bar, and I was like, you need to stop. Like a child. I was like, enough. You need to stop doing this. And
teacher Val came out.
I was like, stop it. I was like, you can't, you're being disrespectful. I was like, cut it out. And she was like, what are you talking about? You don't know my business. And she was like, you don't know that I'm her friend. And the bartender turns around, she goes, I'm not her friend.
We ain't friends.
So I'm in the bathroom, and some guy.
Like, you have to stop. Like, you have to stop. You're being disrespectful. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, enough already.
So I'm in the bathroom, and I knew what happened. I was like sitting there, I'm getting ready to go to the bathroom. I'm like, fuck, that's got to be Val. So I stop, and some dude comes in. It's like, man, that girl's crazy.
A voice like mine.
Yeah, and the guy was like, that girl. I'm like, yeah, I'm sitting next to her. And then so I went out there. Sure enough, Val and her are fucking bickering at each other, and I'm like walking into this shitstorm of.
Fantastic. Right. And at this point now, again, because we've already established this person is not very bright, and she couldn't think of like ways to like, intelligently insult people. So she was just like, she's like, you stay out of my business. You don't know my business. She's like, what are you, a fake American? And I was like, I just was like, I'm pretty sure I'm more American than you are. And then that just made her mad. Even
Val's like, these colors don't run.
And then she was like, did you marry him for the green card? Did you marry him for the green card?
She goes, did she marry you for her green card?
Ooh.
And I was like, and so now I'm just laughing at her because I was like, wow, she is just so dumb. And then, so they finally congregated around her, asking her that she needs to leave. And then Marcus is like, she kept going, you don't stay out of my business. You about me, you don't know. Marcus is like, well, I wish we could, but you're screaming in our faces. It's like, can't help but be in your business. And she goes, shut the fuck up, redneck. Of all the things, like Marcus is like, didn't care. Like he was just like totally calm about everything else. As soon as she called him a redneck, the next thing you know, Marcus like fucking explodes. I was like, wait. That's what put you over there?
That's right. That's the line.
Like butthole finger or something. You would have been like happy about that.
No, sir.
He was going to chase her out of the bar. I was like, well, she's leaving already. Can you just leave her alone? He's like, she called me a redneck. And I was like, I mean, are you really that insulted?
That's the one.
Yes, I was.
Should have been your safe word tonight.
Take my red shirt off.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that was
Oh
my
my
week.
God.
Well, that was your week then.
That was Monday.
Yeah, that was on
Was that
Monday.
really Monday?
Yeah, it was Monday.
I'm looking
Oh,
up the place right now. Old Dominion Brew House.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I've never
We
been there.
randomly found it one time, and it just happened. It was happy hour. They had sushi. I'm like, what the fuck? Dive bar sushi?
Oh, man. This
So we ate it.
Yeah, let's eat this dive bar sushi. Sounds like I'm glad that went well for you.
But
I will say,
it's-
third.
I mean, they're not a dive bar; it's a brewery. but,
Yeah,
like,
it's not dive, but it's
It's
not. A,
unusual. It's unusual to have sushi at a brewery.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking
Yeah.
at the view and everything.
their clam chowder is amazing. I fucking fuck their clam chowder up every time I go there.
Also, that. Well, I got called a racist yesterday.
What'd you do?
Riddle me that.
No,
I didn't do anything. That's the funny thing.
Have done anything.
Like, so these two older Black women were at the corner of the bar. It was, and the thing is, it was like right towards the end of my shift. So like, I was busy trying to close out checks, but they were like pretty high maintenance, you know, like they like snapped at me just to get them water when I'm like trying to get all these other people's drinks. Like as I'm like making other people's drinks, they're like, you know, I didn't come over them quickly enough to give them their water. And I was like, okay, well, what would you like? And then they, you know, they got a beer and a margarita. So I give it to them. 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes later, they still have at least a quarter of drink left. Now I'm trying to close out all my tabs. So I go to the corner, these two older white gentlemen next to them, and I go, do you mind? Because I knew that they had cartons. So I was like, I started over there and I was going to go around the bar. And I was like, do you mind closing out? Blah, 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 this and that. And so they closed out. Then somebody else sat down as I was like getting their stuff. So then I was like, okay, here's, you know, and I just went and got their stuff. I'm still looking at the two ladies and their drinks are still like a quarter full. So then I started trying to close that. And then I come back over and she goes, this one woman looks at me. She goes, where's your manager? I was like, he's probably inside somewhere. I don't know. Like, and then she goes, are you racist? I was like,
What?
I'm not. I was like,
Elaborate.
I'm not. And then she goes, well, you were serving all the other white customers and you didn't come and serve us. And I was like, well, I saw that your drink was still like pretty full. And she was like, well, those people were also full. And I was like, well, they were waving over at me to close their tab. That's why I went to them. But I'm here now. Can I get you anything else? And the irony of it all is that the entire other side of the bar is full of like regulars who are all Black folks, you know, and I just come from the other side of the bar and like gave them drinks and then came over to the other side to just start closing out checks. And I was like, but you know, I'm racist. And in my mind, I'm like, would you like to go speak to the white manager who is also slightly racist?
Definitely. Definitely hooked him up with that.
I was like, I mean, I could see him.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, he would have laughed in their faces because if there is anybody at Nick's who is not racist, it would be me. Like,
You yellow neck.
So you got snapped at for water. I got hit in
Yeah.
the face for water once.
oh my God.
That was when I was working at El Centro. This girl came
But
and
it's
did
the same people that snapped at you that accused you of being a racist. Like make that make sense for me.
Yeah.
And I told
so
I told the general manager, I was like, oh, just FYI. I was like, there might be a complaint about me, like that I'm racist. So
Can
I
I get a
explained to her.
Yelp review?
So I explained to her what happened, and she was like, "Well, so did Ricky talk to them?" And I was like, "Well, no, because I felt like it was too much of a, you know." I was like, "No, I mean, it just didn't have time. Also, like I didn't know where he was, and like at this point, I'm trying to close out everybody else." And she goes, "Yeah," and she said the exact same thing that I just said. She goes, "So you could have been like, would you like to talk to the white manager who is slightly racist?"
Talk to that guy.
Because he's a redneck.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a redneck.
You know, he grew up in like Bowie, Maryland. You know, part of him can't help himself. That's where he grew up.
I lived in Bowie for a while. I know how
That's your problem. That's your issue.
Hey,
Hey, now.
my mom lived on Bel Air Drive, sir. We weren't in like that old Bowie part. All right, chill.
Anyway,
Anyhow.
yeah, that was our week. How was everybody else's week?
My week was stressful as per usual. I
You're a very
never,
busy man.
I'm very busy. There was a press conference this week. There was something called Eggs and Issues that I was asked to speak at. Of course, because like I can talk about the tip credit until I'm blue in the face. I'm invited to speak at this event, and I show up in a hoodie and shorts and
Saying queer as fuck.
close. It was close. But it was also like cut at the front, so it was like even more schlub-like. And I was obviously drinking my coffee out of a pint glass. And I show up to the event, and it's a room full of suits. 4 city councilors, former mayors, current mayor. I'm seated at a table with the current mayor and 4 city councilors. And there is reference to like people wearing suits and like the former mayor. I'm on the panel. It's 7 a.m. and I'm drinking my coffee out of a pint glass because I have no sensory receptors left in my hands because I work in a restaurant. So I don't need a mug with a handle. Because I drink everything out of a pint glass, right? But it was a room full of suits. And of course, like as per usual, I obviously was wake and bake central. And it was really, really wild. And it was a really stressful week. All of it went well. But it's that edging of, is it going to go well? And are people going to fucking show up? And are people going to follow through? I mean, admittedly, with a lot of all of this tip credit organizing that Val knows too well, like there are people that will always show up, and we're herding cats. So it's tough. I mean, and everyone's also fucking busy, and I get it, like to get 15 tipped workers behind a mic and in a presser was a success. I mean, I would have wished for, a whole lot more, but I'll take what I can get and be thankful for the folks who made time to be there. But it was a stressful week, y'all. And these fucking cruise ships that
our schedules are so messed up. They bank on shit. They really do. Like they know that we're all like, remember they would do these pressers, the ROC, and they would do it like on a Saturday afternoon, like knowing damn well none of us could be there to like defend.
Everyone's working lunch.
Yes.
Yes.
Or like, or opening their bar at 3 p.m. and they'd be like, oh, by the way, we're going to like meet up with like everybody at 3 p.m. on a Saturday. Like,
if you want to show up, then you can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except we're working.
Or
fuckers.
remember they boxed us out. They had a presser and they wouldn't even let any of us in.
It was a breakfast thing.
Yeah, it was a breakfast thing.
Yeah, we were sitting
and
up
I think
there.
it was on a Saturday or something like that.
No, I think it was during the week for sure. But
they wouldn't let you guys in.
But they wouldn't.
Who was there? It was Saru and who else? Who was like the big headliner?
Saru was there. Yeah,
Saru was definitely there, jumping on the table.
So before you guys get hold on, before we get too far, the reason why we're having this conversation today is because Sarah, who works with me, is a voter in DC, and she's been talking to Val because she can vote yes or no. So she's been asking us questions, and when we tell her things, she's like, "Oh, okay." So she's like, "Can we talk about it on the show?" Because a lot of my friends have questions as well, who are not in the restaurant industry and do not understand. So let's introduce Sarah again, and let Sarah open it up to you guys for a little bit, and then we can go into the shenanigans. Because I have her till 11:30. So
okay, can I do a quick for everyone who doesn't know what the hell we're talking about, really quickly?
Yes.
So the tip credit. The tip credit is the difference in the prevailing minimum wage and the lower tiered wage paid to tipped workers. In DC, it is $5.50. Correct me if I'm wrong here. $5.15, and your prevailing minimum is $15.65. Is that right?
Even more.
$5.35 and $16.10.
Yeah, it's even more now.
$16.10. $5.35, $16.10. Got it. So the difference between that $5.35 and the $16.10 is what is referred to as the tip credit. The tip wage, again, is that lower tiered wage paid to tipped workers. Tip credit law always guarantees that when our tips and our base wage are added together, that it brings us to the prevailing minimum wage. If for any reason that doesn't happen, which is kind of unheard of, right? Like we're talking about one $50 check in an hour with current tipping practices, right? So one $50 check within the hour gets you to prevailing minimum for the most part, right? So the idea of it happening is few and far between anyway. However, the law provides that, again, should that not happen, that the employer has to make up the difference. And we have always said on our side of the argument, if our political opposition wanted to make fines stronger for those bad actors in our industry, there are bad actors in every industry, right? Like, but we also want to root those assholes out, like they drag all of us down. So like, if there was a push to like make those fines stronger for those bad actors in the industry who aren't making up that difference and who aren't following the letter of the fucking law, then go after those assholes and fine them up the ass. But to conflate the idea that like tip credit law further allows wage theft, that's not what we're talking about here. Because again, the law provides that we are always guaranteed the highest prevailing minimum wage, no matter what. That said, the legislation that is before DC as well as before the city of Portland is total tip credit elimination. So essentially you're talking about around 170% raise for 80% of a staff for a full service restaurant over a short period of time.
And we're all just coming out of the pandemic too. I mean, not coming, but yes, like now we're all fully reopened. Like there's restaurants that are still reeling from the cost of that, from the loss of business. Like some never made it. And then the ones that did make it, they're still feeling the effects of being shut down in 2020. Like this is gonna decimate a lot of businesses.
I mean, Woong Chang himself, Rock board member, said what? Yeah, it's going to put people out of
jobs, but oh well. It's like what?
Yeah, people are going to lose their jobs. Yeah, places.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
guys. What did he say? What did he say? You guys want clear?
He was basically like, it's okay. We know that people are going to lose their jobs. We acknowledge that. We
know that people are going to have to shut their doors.
Yeah.
Like, it's just collateral damage is basically what he was saying.
The opposition knows that, and they don't care.
They don't care.
And so the argument then becomes like, okay, but then why are they doing this? Well, they're doing this because they're a insanely well-funded, further left politically organization that is just grasping at political power. Ultimately, they've embedded themselves, unfortunately for us, into the DNC platform. They, that money has bought them that seat at the table for, to be in the part of the DNC platform. So, we find that it's, I mean, I think by and large, the majority of restaurant workers lean to the left politically, at least socially, right? I mean, obviously, I think that goes without saying. So like, it feels
where you
like,
are too.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
right? I mean, and so it feels like we're fighting with our own side, and like, someone said back in Maine during our fight, they said, if you folks were a group of plumbers or iron workers, we as Democrats would have your backs, and we would immediately be like, yeah, okay, absolutely, we're gonna do that. But because you're not well organized, and because you're a different group subset of workers, we're supposed to just turn our back and say that you as workers, this isn't what you want. Phil Mendelson said, like, when minimum wage policy comes before DC City Council, you don't have a bunch of minimum wage employees standing up and speaking out and saying, don't do this.
That we don't
want. But in
this
particular, we don't want your raise. But in this particular situation, it's worker after worker after worker saying the same thing. And yet somehow,
here we are again.
Right, and
So
because so the opposition, they are again very organized and very well funded, and they have this narrative, and they find these people who maybe have never worked in the industry or disgruntled from the industry or just starting in the industry and don't understand how really it works, and that's who they that's how they enlist to go out there and like spread this like misinformation about how the tip system works and how our industry functions and how the business model is. And so, you have all these people who aren't really DC industry workers. They're political operatives who they've paid to go around and walk around and say like fucking Adam Eidinger, who, oh my God, Laura, you have to see this video
he blocked me on Twitter, so
Well, so it's on the DC News Now, which is on the CW. So I was interviewed on Friday, and and the interview was like, this motherfucker has the nerve to say that he worked in the industry as a former restaurant employee. Fuck off. When? In 1970?
Yeah.
Like in like Minnesota somewhere? Like he definitely did not work in this industry. Not here in DC. And like to pretend that you like somehow are one of us is a misrepresentation at best.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
hold on. Can I send her back? Sarah, we have you until a limited time. And
Yeah.
we got sidetracked and we could talk about this until we're blue in the face.
I can tell. It's okay.
Pose a question.
Sure. So
We're very
I have-
passionate.
I'm glad. I'm really happy to be here because as you may or may not know, I'm someone that's never worked in the service industry. So of course it makes total sense to put your fates in my hands and have me vote. That being said, I do wonder, one of you did mention something about collateral damage. What is, if this got voted into effect, what is the best case and worst case scenario? If there's a best case or worst case scenario?
So there are 7 states in the country that don't have a tip credit presently. So those states are Minnesota, Montana, Nevada, and then the entire Pacific coast, Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California. And in those 7 states, you're already seeing, especially in places like King County, Seattle, San Francisco, where there is a much higher prevailing minimum wage, you're already seeing in those places a paradigm shift towards counter service because the full service restaurant model just doesn't work at that point. I mean, the margins are just too tight. It doesn't make sense. So especially newer locations, they just open up counter service because the business model for full service just becomes untenable. If you do open up a full service restaurant, or most full service restaurants switch over to a service charge model. So it's really important for folks to understand that tips and gratuities are not service charges. Service charges by law belong to the house. They are not property of tipped workers, unlike tips and gratuities. Mm-hmm. So, tip pooling and all those sorts of things, there are a certain subset of laws surrounding tips, but service charges specifically belong to the house. So one of our board members for Restaurant Workers of America, Simone, lives in Seattle. At her restaurant, or her firmware restaurant, there is a 20% service charge on all checks. On her paycheck, she sees a line item of 10% commissions on all sales. So the other 50% of all of her service charges basically are going to the house, and the house is then using them to deal with the wage situation for a full service restaurant, essentially, and attempting to give more, again, with the margins. But most importantly, the money belongs to the house. She's a senior server. Junior servers at that same restaurant start out at 5% commissions in addition to their prevailing wage. So again, but more importantly, taking the money and all of those tips and those valuable monies that we all live for, taking those out of our hands and putting them in the business account and allowing them to give out and dole out those funds however they see fit. That's so you've got counter service, you've got service charges, you've got automation. Obviously, get used to seeing iPads. I mean, anyone who's flown in the last decade, I mean, you order an iPad in a airport. I mean, it happens at all the chains, on and on and on. Creating a glorified food runner basically for all of those locations, obviously chains predominantly. Most importantly, it cuts out the first people who are to be most intimately impacted are their support staff that are gone. I mean, if the business is already being forced to give the people who already make the most money in the business more money, they're just going to lose their support staff. So, I mean, without my host and food runner and busser, my job would not be possible. I would not be able to give the level of service that I do. I mean, it's just, it's not possible. My section's also going to get larger because we're going to be more expensive. So my section's going to expand. I'm going to have no support staff. And again, the dining experience is not going to be what I would hope it to be. And I'm not going to be giving the level of service that I want to be.
Right. So your quality of service goes down and then the tips go down.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're waiting on yourself at counter service.
Right.
And something that often goes missed is the idea that again, it's not lost on anybody that servers and bartenders make the most money in the business, right? Like everyone knows that. In fact, a lot of people turn down management roles because they make more money behind the bar or on the floor. That's just reality.
Right.
That being said, if a business is forced to give more money to the people who already make the most money in the business, how long does the prep cook, the line cook, the dishwasher have to wait to see their annual raise? Will they ever even see one?
Or
I mean,
they might even lose their job because they can't afford to pay them anymore because they have to shift all that money to the front of the house to cover that labor expense.
I mean, immediately that day bartender shift is gone. That day dishwasher shift is gone. People are covering that slot. So the prep guy is doing both his job and now doubling down and also having to do dishes because they can't afford to pay both of those positions. I mean, there are just those insane unintended consequences that we, because we're in the industry, understand and realize. There's also lots of data surrounding the idea that as your base wage goes up, tips go down. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics put out interesting numbers not too long ago showing that in California, specifically, tipped workers are making less than they are in DC with that higher prevailing minimum wage.
And that was years ago. Like we had those,
and it's continued. It's continued to go on. Exactly right. And again, we all know this. And so, I mean, Michael Lynn out of Cornell, the foremost professor on all things tipping in our country at Cornell, he has said that as tip credits diminish, so do tips. Customers tip the 20% and the higher standards, the 25s and the 30s, because they know we make a low wage, quite frankly, and allows us to be the commission-based salespeople that we consider ourselves to be. But it's just the reality that customers tip less when they know you're already making a prevailing wage. We've seen this data out of all of these 7 states. Shy of Alaska. Alaska is some weird anomaly where like everyone just tips like wild. No one knows. Either way, it's some weird anomaly that like doesn't fit the trend. But nonetheless, yeah. Like if you look at Census Bureau data and Bureau of Labor Statistics and all of these resources outside of policy shops, I mean, like, you know, MECEP and EPI and all of these, you know, think tank policy shops, essentially. I mean, the data is really there. And we keep, again, preaching this and talking about it and saying that, you know, the math doesn't make sense. But the reality is that, like, the opposition is allowed and given the ability to make the emotional case for the economical argument, right? We're talking about math and facts and data and reality and like what we know our industry to be and how customers behave. You know, we know all of these things, yet it's the outside influencers, it's the interlopers in DC, it's the interlopers in Portland, it's the interlopers anywhere they go that fail to garner local support and that pay their folks to be there. And yet, you know, it's us who are showing up to rally and protest and do all of these things unpaid on our mornings off. And you know, again, but they make the emotional case for the economical argument. So like we have attempted to take back that power, right, by being workers and saying, listen to us, we're the workers, listen to us, we're the workers, we know what we're talking about, please just listen to the workers. And so it's because we know all these unintended consequences that's why we fight.
On the topic of unintended consequences, and I think you touched on this already with back at house staff and outside forces. I don't remember the name of the article, but there was an article in the Washington Post, and it was an opinion piece on going yes on 82 because it would supposedly help back of house staff. To what extent is that statement true or not true, and why?
It's categorically false. I mean, just if the numbers don't lie, you know, I mean, if businesses have to what'd you say, Joshua? What's the percentage of increase? 100 and something percent.
You're talking about like I mean, I'd have to,
like maybe 200% increase.
Forgive me. It's like
70%ish.
Yeah,
it's 170% increase for 80% of a restaurant staff.
Right.
Quality
so like
all
up front of the house, you're now taking that you have to increase your labor costs to push towards the front of the house staff. There is nothing left to go to the back of the house.
No, there's not.
So I mean, how is that money How are you going to be able to pay the back of that? How is it going to be equitable? The only way that it's going to be equitable is that like the front of the house just makes less money, So
and the business essentially will put a 20% service charge on all checks. The guests feel as though that is the gratuity. They don't leave extra. That's just reality. It's also super not customer friendly because they're like, how dare you tell me how much I'm going to leave for money? But nonetheless, I mean, service charges aren't guest friendly, but when they're industry wide in a city like DC, it's just the norm, right? So like, it just becomes accepted. But the reality that like in order to give any raises to the back of the house, they're going to have to start to take out of those tip monies, basically, what would be tip
service
money,
charge
by putting their hands on the service charge and utilizing that model to just rob Peter to pay Paul, essentially.
Right. And so then, this fallacy of like that 20% gratuity or service charge going to that employee that just made your drink or serve you your burger or like you brought you your water, like that's not going all to us. We don't make all that 20% anymore. Now that's easily distributed. That's going to be distributed throughout the entire establishment. And like what Michael had just said earlier, that service charges are considered revenue and therefore they're taxed. So then they have to use that to pay for those extra taxes because now it's considered revenue. Also, there are a lot of establishments where their rent is based partially on their revenue. So now there's that increase in revenue. So then their rent goes up. So there are a lot of other expenses. So I have a friend,
and their payroll tax also goes up.
Right.
I mean, it's all rolled. Yeah.
It's all tied in together. Yeah. And I had this argument with one of my friends who's like a well-meaning, like, bleeding heart Democrat. And he was like, I'd gladly pay a 20% service charge so that you guys can make a living wage. I was like, fuck off with your 20% service charge. Like, I'm not going to make a living wage from that. Like, I don't get that. I won't be getting all that money. Like,
I mean, at the end of the day,
it's also,
go ahead.
I was going to say, it's also that 20% is more than what you're going to see on the increase on your tab, right? There's going to be a significant increase on your base cost of goods just to make up that difference because of the added taxes on the payroll tax and the sales tax coming into it. All of it. Like, you can't make up with that with the 20% by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just some quick math, if I may. So some people who actually do this for a living and run a business and actually look at a P&L who have done the math. So in Maine, just to kind of compartmentalize, we would be going from 650 to 18 in 3 years. That is 170% raise over the course of those 3 years. And for each 10 employees that are working 30 hours a week, it's an increase of 180,000 per year. So 180,000 for the first year, 360, 540. So and that again is for 10 employees working 30 hours. That's not a huge restaurant by any stretch. So like the menu prices that you're already going to see, followed by the service charge that is then being put on every guest check, there's not going to be more funds for people to dine out. I mean, it is wild what we're talking about. And the bigger reality that like to do this in such a weird, like city-based situation, right? So we're talking about DC, we're talking about the city of Portland. Like it's one thing to even talk about statewide. Like the statewide implications to me is like one place could handle it, one place can't. Like, for example, and again, it always puts us in the position of like in Portland, it's an $18 an hour minimum wage ballot referendum, which if it was just 18 and they left the tip wage out of it, I would gladly support. I think the city of Portland could absolutely handle 18, but not in this way. And so, and again, not with like the input of tipped workers being recognized for saying that we don't want this.
So that's the thing. Why, like, hold on, like, if it is for the workers, why haven't they talked to the workers?
I mean, because they have their own workers.
Because they know better.
Yeah, they know better than we do.
I don't even know how to say it. It's a political grab for them.
They told us how to how we do our own jobs and stuff. They belittled us. I mean, the rhetoric coming from the other side was insulting as fuck. They were so incredibly rude. They gaslit us. They doxed us. Remember, I had people calling my restaurant, the bar that I work at, making complaints about me that had nothing to do with
negative reviews online.
Yes,
yeah,
had nothing to do with the bar. They had nothing to do with it, but they found out where I worked, and they were like, "Yeah, your bartender is like a horrible fucking person." It's just,
I mean,
they did that to me. They did that to several.
I mean, you are, but still.
You know, I'm gonna come over there.
Hence why we're so passionate, Sarah, because we've been burned by these assholes so many times, and we're
I don't even work in the service industry, and when it was initiative 77, is that right? Yeah, I was on the fence about how I was going to vote, and I won't say who, but there were some supporters that were giving me shit because I was going to restaurants and supporting restaurants that were no on 77, and I'm thinking that's not fair.
You, Marcus.
Yeah, and that is their MO. Like they're so aggressive and so what's the word?
They're assholes. They're just assholes.
They're just absolute assholes. Like they were
dirty.
so vicious and just, you know, I mean, we're all sitting there. We're just a bunch of bartenders and servers who are like trying to preserve our jobs and our livelihoods. And they were
super left too. And I remember they were insulting a DC council member for not being able to speak quote unquote proper English. Yeah, because he
so
supported
racist.
Us. He's
so fucking racist.
I don't know how it hasn't been brought up by anybody yet. Talk about the most racist and offensive situation that happened in that whole
Uncle Frank
fight. Uncle
Frank.
So there was a debate in the city of DC at Black Cat. No, that wasn't the Black Cat.
No, I think it was Midlands.
Oh, that was the Midlands one. Yeah.
So there is a debate between One Fair Wage /
it was Rock
Opportunity
at the time.
Center. Rock at the time, right? So Restaurant Opportunity Center, which feel free to Google because the bad press there is astounding. Well, it's reality, right?
What would it be?
That's why they tried to separate themselves from One Fair Wage.
Because they were actually wage thefting their own employees. So that's great.
Yeah,
but they're one and the same. Yeah. They are one and the same.
They're the same organization. So nonetheless, so they what was I saying? Sorry.
Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank. Midlands. So picture it, Sicily, 1912. So you've got pro tip credit elimination rock assholes on one side, and then you've got
one of them was
like lifelong bartenders and DC workers on the other side, and Frank Mills, who opened up Roy Boy's Chicken in Shaw and other locations. Shout out to Frank.
So he was at the time he was at Jack Rose. He was a bartender at Jack Rose.
So bartender Frank and Jessica Winter Martin, who was a rock board member at the time, impersonated a slave voice. And I wish I could remember the exact quote. I have the video.
It was like something out of Uncle Tom's Cabin.
Something to the effect of like, but every time,
So I remember what she said. She said we continuously have to tell Black people how to vote.
But that's not when that's not when she was talking to.
I don't even want to do the voice.
Yeah, I know.
Like, can I not do the voice? I'll just say, okay, thank you. I'll just say what she said. She said every time there's always somebody. There's always a Black man who will, when trying to be helped, will say, well, no, Massa treats me well, etc., etc. And essentially just called him an Uncle Tom in live debate at the Midlands. And the entire crowd was like, what just happened? Like,
I feel like she felt because she was a Black woman that she could do that, you know?
That was
wild.
And then, it's funny
because he's pro tip credit, he's immediately an Uncle Tom. Like, what are we even talking about? And the race baiting that they use on their side it's unfortunate. It's astounding. It's
also really offensive. It's offensive.
It's wildly offensive.
It also.
One person. Dylan, go ahead.
I would say it also points a lot to like their perspective on doing this stuff and not recognizing that like DC is a major city, but like the restaurant community is pretty small. Like there's a lot of overlap, a
More
lot of
importantly,
people know each other.
it's predominantly
like,
independent contractors, or not independent contractors,
like,
but independent
I
businesses.
think at the time of 77, it was 96%, right? Something like that.
Right.
Independently owned restaurants and bars.
Exactly.
And so like everybody knows each other, and so to like attack somebody who's actually in the industry to that
Also,
level,
someone who
is
is
just like,
very
whoa.
well known and where the left, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like we're all friends with this guy. Like I love Frank. Like what is
The
this?
industry is like 6 degrees of separation.
Right.
Always like
Of course.
So that debate was what
6 degrees is pushing it.
right,
Yeah,
and it's like
Yeah.
3 degrees.
this is what it is.
So that debate was what got me involved because someone who will not be named because Sarah, you know her. So she actually tried to that day she tried to recruit me for the other side, and I didn't understand what she was talking about, right? Because I didn't understand the dynamics yet. This was very early on. And I remember like I was watching the thing and I was like, and she came into my bar and she was like, but Val, you know, I mean, don't you feel like, I mean, you like have to like basically whore yourself out to like make tips? And I was like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
I was like, I make
How
tips.
offensive is that language to compare the women
Right.
of the
Which is
industry?
that women have to sell themselves for tips.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we don't get tips.
Right. And
We
I
have
was
to be
like,
whores behind the bar, or else we don't get any money.
right. And I was like, I don't do that.
Have you
I was
met
like,
me?
I make money because I engage with anybody at the bar and they know that I know what I'm doing and I make them good drinks. And then they tip me well. And then, so because I you know, shot that down right away and she's like, yeah, but don't you feel like, you know, as a person of color that you get tipped less? And I was like, no.
So
I like,
she tried the woman angle, then she
Yeah.
tried the woman of
and
color
then she was like,
angle.
well, I mean, don't you feel like, you know, then I shot that down and then she said something else about like, I mean, look at you right now, like you're barely making any money because it was I worked a day shift. And she's like, I mean, don't you feel like you should be making more money? And I was like, yeah, but yesterday I made $700. So I'm okay with like, you know, I'm like,
even if
okay
you
with
don't
like
make money.
not making that much money today. So then that night I watched the thing, I watched the video or that day and I was like, so first that after her comment with to Frank, then she said, oftentimes Black people and people of color will always fight against measures that are meant to be in their best interests.
Yes, she knows better.
And then she goes, but we're here now to help you. Why are we doing a shot? Did I do something wrong?
no, we're doing it just because fuck.
Dylan asked to do a shot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
we're
Felt
doing a
like
shot
the time.
this time. Yeah, I've been looking at
So
my
she
shot
said-
for like the past 20 minutes.
Hey, I was like, I want to refill it. I gotta do it.
So
Do it.
there's Uncle Frank.
Oh, I love that guy.
Right?
Frank.
I've met him.
Of course
He's
you do.
awesome.
Of course you have.
Everybody
Exactly.
loves Uncle Frank.
What is not to love? Look at that beautiful
So
specimen.
I feel bad because like I don't when I call him
Oh.
Uncle Frank, but not because I reference that. It's because there was what oh, look, there's me. They
Look
told
at
us
that man.
they told us to look angry. And I
Oh,
was
it's for
like,
the
but my
article.
face is already angry. If
Is
like,
he still at Roy Boys?
no, this was it. This
No.
was at Cork.
Oh,
Like
okay.
they said, don't smile, and I was like, but my face will be very angry if I don't smile.
Yellow neck.
I was like,
You're a yellow neck.
I have like resting bitch face.
You
So
would
I
be a
can't-
lot
can't
prettier
help
if you
it.
smiled more.
So
Nice.
Val already touched on this, and she's actually answered this question for me, but I'd like to open up to everyone else. There is the argument that from the people that are yes for 82, saying that this will increase wage equality, especially for women and people of color. To what extent is that true or not true, and why?
Okay, may I? Okay.
Oh, no,
may I-
no, white guy. Not the Asian. guy.
okay, yeah. What?
Well, fuck, dude.
No,
really?
Go
I
ahead.
want to know. No. I want to provide some background. I just want to provide
Yes.
some background really quickly. So, like, there are statistics that are real that we need to face and that are part of our reality, right? So, like, there is a large segment of our workforce that are in fact reliant on government assistance to some degree. Okay, whether that's health, whether that's rent, whatever subsidies are, there are certainly folks in our industry that fall into that category of needing assistance in whatever way. I would like to give some preface as to the background of how terrible and shitty our fucking system is. Okay, so I went to a workers nonprofit organization, the Workers Center of Flushing, I believe, or the Workers Center. It was in Flushing.
Flushing, New
Workers
York?
Center. Yeah, writing down. Yeah, but it wasn't Flushing. It was Flushing Workers Center. Either way, Workers Center that represented Chinese predominantly and ESL Latin folk, where a broader categorization of Latin folk. However, the Asian folks that were participatory were predominantly Chinese. Nonetheless, lots of them worked in Chinatown. These women waited until the very end of the day to testify. And they testified because they were so pissed off about the argument that Val made reference to, that the comparison to sex workers, right? And that these women are, because for them culturally, it was wildly offensive that these people were saying that these Chinese women would sell themselves at work for more tips. And they were so wildly offensive, they signed up wicked late, and bless their hearts, they had to wait until the very end of the day to give their testimony when there's no one else in the room except for the Board of Labor, the Department of Labor. But outside talking to the leader of that organization, and she's an industry worker, right? So the system is so fucking jacked that, let's say anybody is receiving $1,000 worth of subsidies from the government. Let's say that's rent and health and whatever it is, food stamps, whatever that conglomeration is. It's $1,000 worth of subsidies that they receive in whatever form. Let's just say that. If one of those tipped workers are asked to pick up an extra shift at work, they have to know to the dollar what they're going to make that month. Because let's say they picked up an extra shift or two, right? And they make like $50 more than they said in the documentation that they sent off to receive all these subsidies through whatever state or federal, whatever it is, right? So they are capped as to what they can earn for that month in order to qualify for those subsidies. Now, if that worker earns $5 more than they are supposed to, the government doesn't say, okay, so here's $9.95. They say, nope, we're taking it all. And so the government, the system is so fucking jacked to keep poor people poor. And yes, there is a huge subset of the restaurant workforce who does in fact receive subsidies. Yes, that's true. But we also welcome folks back to work within their flexibility and their free time and their availability, that they can get daycare and that they can get 1 or 2 shifts a week. And we work them back in after, they went out with maternity care, whatever that is. Like,
that's another thing.
There's always the ability for a part-time restaurant worker who wants to work like 3 lunches a week. There's always going to be that market. Like it's going to be there. You want to work 3 lunches a week? Cool. Perfect. We'll fit you in. Right. Yeah. And so, but because of that, we also pay the price of a lot of workers receiving subsidies. And again, I would argue that the fucking system is jacked. And again, if
100%.
If our political opposition wanted to fight to fix the fucking system, I would stand right there with them as a proud Democrat and fight that fight. But like,
you want to eliminate a lot of those subsidies, get this universal health care, right?
Please,
yeah, right?
Please, for the love of God,
so
I will stand right there with you. Exactly. Yes.
Right. But they don't care about that. They're caring about using us as like political chess pieces. They want this entire industry under their thumb. They see this as a source of great money. Like that's all it is at the end of the day. We are political purchasing power.
This leader of the worker organization, she specifically said that she felt as though this policy and the elimination of the tip credit would drive folks further into the shadows who were already kind of there anyway. Mm-hmm. So, and then again, back to the loss of support staff, right? Like a huge swath of the support staff in any major city, in any restaurant industry is going to be you know, a lot of ESL folks who are bus people, food runners, you know, who are filling those bar back positions. They're ESL and they're the most vulnerable amongst us, and they're going to be the first to lose their jobs.
Yes.
And yet
Because they're the easiest
the
to
opposition doesn't
eliminate.
care. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
But
for the record,
this woman felt as though it was going to push those vulnerable folks further into the shadows. Is that
Okay,
that's
Dylan.
how, and again, I can't take credit for what she said, but that's how she felt as a
Right.
nonprofit leader.
Dylan, go
for
ahead.
sure. And I'll say, like, also to that exact point, I've recently started a second job as like an AmeriCorps algebra teacher at Cardozo High School, and they do a block schedule. So on my A days, I actually work with the International Academy. So I'm working with these students who are like, you know, getting dropped off on these buses coming from Texas and Florida, and they're like, we got to put these kids into school. So I get them in these classes, and like, I love working with these kids.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Motivated, like super driven, like they just want to learn. They want to like
Do better.
learn
like,
as much
get
as they
better,
can,
yeah.
just do better.
Right.
Yeah, 100%. And like
That's awesome.
a lot of times, these are the kids who end up being our support staff in the restaurant as like an entry to the workforce, right? They
Mhm.
start off as a busboy or like a food runner or something like that, and they work their way up. And like we have a couple where I'm working now, a couple of kids, they're like 19, 20 now, who have been, you know, food runners and bussers and like takeout guys for us forever, who are now like, you know, we're starting to train them on the bar, we're starting to train them as servers, and
That's
like
awesome.
they're starting taking classes at UDC because they have the money to pay for it and do that. And like
Great.
that's part of what that is, that entry
Right.
level job to get you into that, to put you in that
This
position
is-
where they can keep working for us and still be in school and still work towards their degree.
Yes. And
So
you
we
can
lose that
make
with
great- you can
82.
make great money.
Right. And like the
And-
flexibility. And that's like
The
one of the
money.
things that, hi, Michael.
Yo,
Man, what's up, sir?
what is up?
It is
Michael,
really-
introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
Hey, I am Michael Richmond. I know all these crazy cats from Initiative 77. I used to be the GM of Roasted Luxury, Pineapple and Pearls. I worked with Fabio and opened up Riggs Hotel before the pandemic. So
I had that shirt.
it's a great shirt.
It's a great
What do you
fucking
do
shirt.
now, Michael?
I work for a software revenue management for restaurants. So I do like implementation, help people run their P&Ls, a lot of back of office paperwork stuff.
Hey Frank, can you send me the link to in the,
Frank?
the private
Yeah,
chat
yeah.
here?
I
The
got it.
Frank Mills,
Michael?
the Frank Mills
Yeah, yeah.
thing.
Yep,
Michael?
that's the like shortened clip of that.
Right. So
Good.
he can't pull it off of the chat. You just send it to his
Send it
Well,
through
his
Facebook or something.
Mhm,
Okay,
mhm.
got it.
All right, so Michael, we have Sarah here. Sarah is a voter in DC.
Mhm.
Never worked in the restaurant industry, so she came to me and wanted to learn more about the whole 82 thing.
Mhm.
And her time is limited, and
Yeah.
knowing that
right.
and knowing that, Michael, your knowledge is numbers based, and you create amazing graphics and amazing things.
amazing.
Do you have
Also
a lead
amazing
question
pictures.
for Sarah? Do you have a lead question for Michael as far as like anything numbers based or math based that we talked about earlier, or that?
I think the only question I may have is, and I guess it's a question that I asked earlier, but I'm putting it in a number sense.
Mhm.
What are the potential gains and or losses in voting yes on 82?
So I think the thing to think about is that in reality, nobody actually knows. And the reason that is because all of the states that don't have tip credits have removed it like 20, 30 years ago.
The
So
last
there's
place
actually
was Minnesota in
Yeah, there-
in the 80s.
there's
Oh, yeah.
actually
Right.
there's
So-
actually no, and that this is like I think one of the big lies that they don't tell is that there actually isn't a successful like go from no tip credit to full tip credit, and what are the ramifications.
Talk
And
about
that's why
Danny
I think
Meyer.
Right.
and that's why I think where you have someone who's supposed to be like for the people, if they're going full tilt, there's no like going back from that. You can't just be like, oh, wow, we were wrong, like my bad. And
Right,
there's
yeah,
no,
it says
there's
vote
no
closed already,
there's
right?
no nuance there. But in reality, if you want to see what would restaurants do when they have an all of a sudden increase on capital and what is it, like operating
Payroll
expenses,
tax and operate. Yeah.
if you
All
want
of
to
it.
see what happens to a restaurant when they are constrained on operating expenses, look at every single restaurant and what they did after the pandemic. Immediately, what they did was they downgraded all their staff. I was running a hotel. I was the food runner. I was doing in-room dining, and I was doing I was the front desk. I was a host, right? So when you
As the
think
general
about,
manager,
as the GM, the assistant F&B director, and then soon to be food and beverage director, what will happen is labor is your biggest expense. They will start to downgrade labor. And when you think about what's happening with restaurants, if I opened up a restaurant right now, in full faith, I have the laws that are set out to be able to pay my employees, to be able to have servers, to have bartenders and what they get paid.
Like, you know what your cost will be.
I didn't do anything wrong. I set up my model based on that. I sent the business proposal and they looked at it. I got the finances from the bank. I got all my investors to go in. I ran the numbers. I did a pro forma for the entire year, right? I based my entire, this is what I'm doing with restaurants on this model. And you're
I
basically
mortgaged
telling
my home.
Yeah, you're telling every single restaurant that has done that and said, actually, you just have to change your entire model. I can open up a restaurant for you right now with no tips. I could do that. I can open up a restaurant for you and run it right now with tips. They will be two completely different restaurants. If you whatever you want to cook, that's fine. The food would be the same, but the service model, the amount of staff you have, how you bring guests their food, it will be different because it has two different ramifications. And when you're looking at an industry where, and this is the other thing, restaurants don't make a lot of money, right? A $4 million restaurant is like a good restaurant. That's where like restaurants are having like decent money, but they're still getting 3%, 5%.
That's what people don't understand. They think we're sitting on all these mounds of cash, like we're
at the end of the day. And
so Michael, what would you say is like
industry
right
standard
now, like,
hovers around 4% or something.
Yeah, like what is like this the average like
let's say for DC
like a what is a profit margin? Like what is it right now?
So it's like I think 1 in 7 are going to make it to open, right? And from there, maybe like 3 in 10 make it to their through their like first year. You don't start to really see a profit until like 5 years in. Now you can like I worked for a restaurant that opened up and we got best new restaurant in the United States, and it was like easy mode because we had full, like we were like, we were full every single day. We only made we didn't make that much money, right? And that's the craziest part is that we were busy every single day. The idea that it takes $4 million to make $30,000 net profit after everybody's paid. That's crazy, right? That's insane.
What is it like? It's like 7 to 10%. Like it's good, right? Like
and 10% is fantastic.
And that's where you'll see that this is why like people who like are lawyers or people who like been successful in tech, when they're like, yo, let's open up a restaurant, it'd be super cool. And then they realize like, holy shit, I'm 80% profit margin on my tech company, and then I'm 7% or 3% profit margin on my restaurant. That's wild. And I think that's where I like I get not upset, or yes, upset. I get upset because they don't care about whether the restaurant succeeds or not, right? Because you have to understand we're all kind of assimilated into the restaurant's health. And if you hurt the restaurant and the restaurant becomes unprofitable or less profitable, you're actually hurting the people. Bigger restaurants, busier restaurants, hire and employ more people. If you make it harder for them to distribute that wage, then that's going to hurt the amount of people that they can employ. And the idea that these guys are just running around being like, well, I think, wait, you asked the question earlier. It was like it helps the bottom, like it helps more people in like that are in monetary vulnerabilities. This is there's no barrier to entry in a restaurant. If you went to jail, if you didn't go to high school, if you like had a fucked up life,
you can have a great career in a restaurant.
Welcome.
Yeah, we love the bottom of society.
Michael, you're frozen.
All right, so while he's frozen, I'm going to play the Uncle Frank video.
Go for it.
Okay. These are for the people who are struggling.
Very progressive city that DC is. There's female bosses, there's female owners, there are female head bartenders, there are female head servers, there are female head chefs. There are females that are cocktail queens and are beasts, and we respect them more than anybody else.
Yeah, Frankie.
Always have been and always will be Black people, people of color who will fight against things that we're trying to serve them. I mean, what does that have anything to do?
On the back end of somebody.
I mean, just good old Malcolm X has spoken on this many a times. Every time he got something to say, they always find somebody else who can come right up in there and say, well, no, sir, I don't see racism. So that doesn't
mean that we're paying attention to that person, or are we paying attention? Look, I will never allow anybody to victim blame, and you are starting to do exactly that. And at the end,
there it is.
See, and then
I'm sorry for misquoting. That was the gist of what I got. I apologize for
in this
misquoting.
same conversation, that was when she also compared female tipped employees to sex workers, and that's when my head exploded, and I was like, I don't know what I need to do. I know nothing about politics, but please put me into this game. Yeah. I was like, please let me do something.
Can I make a point that I'm so glad that my high brain came back to it, because so I was posed this question during a press conference the other day, and like it is important for us to know, right? Okay, because we've all been fucking called scabs and bootlickers and you name it, we've been called it, right?
Oh yeah.
It is not obviously it is not lost on us that in this weird niche part of wage law that both the owner and the worker want to keep, by definition and at face value, our wages lower. Like it's not lost on us, right? Like, but if you don't know anything about this issue, you think that I'm fighting for less money. Now, the counter to that would be like
the owners.
Exactly what Phil Mendelson said, as I brought up earlier. Like, in this situation, you have a bunch of workers standing up and saying, no, we don't want your raise. Fucking keep it, shove it, whatever. And so, like, it is not lost on us that at the end of the day, we and the restaurant industry at large and owners specifically, and moreover, Republicans, because they support a lower minimum wage at the end of the day. And that's the reason that they're on our side, right? So, like, I agree with every Republican on this issue, yet I fight with people in my own party, and I'm trying to speak up as a worker, and yet you just continue to ignore me. But at the end of the day, we do realize that people are going to call us bootlickers and scabs and every name you can think of, as far as,
paid actors,
paid actors, being forced into having this position by our owners and management. And it's so far from the truth. And the reality is that, like, yes, at the end of the day, in this weird niche wage an hour law, the owners and the workers both want to keep our specific wages low. Now, would you not, as just a general person, say, oh, well, that there's got to be something to that? Why are these workers saying that? I should maybe open my fucking ears and talk to them and be like, well, then why are you saying that? And they would hear our arguments, and because we know the unintended consequences, and on and on and on and on and on. But, ask your tipped workers, like, why do you support it? Because we understand the unintended consequences. But, like, yes, at the end of the day, owners are fighting because of their P&Ls. We're fighting because it's our livelihoods. Yes, we're all on the same page. And yes, that may seem weird from an outside perspective, but it benefits the entire community, the industry, in different ways. And most importantly, compared to service charges and tips, it keeps more money in the hands of workers and allows more monies from the restaurant to be diverted to give bigger raises to the people in the back of the house.
On the topic of
paid more money, right? Like, I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, no, that's okay. My question was on the topic of asking workers for their opinions on an initiative that's going to affect them the most. Are there any open debates coming up that me and other prospective voters can attend before November?
I'm not aware of anything at the moment, because I don't feel like they really want to.
I'd fly in for that.
No, they're trying to keep voters in the dark. They use the line "tips on top." Oh,
would they not? But has anyone called
minimum wage plus tips on top?
Why don't we call for one for the vote?
Right here, right now.
There's one on the 26th. Andrew, where?
On the 26th.
Yes, the 20.
Okay.
On this particular issue, is it by invite only, Andrew?
Yeah, but who on the anti 82 side is going to be debating?
It's typically what is it? RMA? What is it?
Ram W?
Yeah, Ram W is like usually in the know about the stuff like that.
All right, so I pulled some off your drive. This is Wong.
I haven't heard anything.
Well, no, but so let me that probably isn't a debate though. Like I got invited to a thing that was led by the Chamber of Commerce. I am clearly no owner, and I showed up looking like a schlub, and I was very, very fish out of water. But like that's probably a room of friendlies. But I would gladly debate any of these assholes any day of the week, 110%. I mean, we showed it in that debate that Marcus showed, but like I would gladly sit across the stage with Dylan and Valerie and Laura Pacholkiw and any number of amazing tipped workers in DC and debate them openly any day.
So I got
one
the
fair
clip
wage
of the
and rock
Black
if you're listening.
They don't
One
listen
fair
to us.
wage and rock.
They ain't listening, please.
So here's Wong at the Black Cat.
Whatever.
I'll give up.
Darker picture of what's going to happen to the industry than Rock probably painted. I do think there's going to be some pressure.
Goddamn it won't play. Never mind.
Try it again.
But he did say, like, I do know that
people are
a lot of
restaurants
are going to close down. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs. But oh well, whoops.
Yeah. So I want to try and go back to just to reiterate. I know that we talked a little bit about, you'd asked about these states that had elimination, that don't have the tip credit.
Yeah.
I want to just make it very clear that most of those places, like Michael said, like most of those states either never had the tip credit, or it's like California, it took them 50 years to eliminate the tip credit.
Right.
Like,
and so if you're talking about a state, right, if you're talking about a state that went from whatever it was 40 years ago in Minnesota, what was it? Probably 4 1/4 or what the fuck ever it was. Who knows? But so in the 80s in Minnesota, to go from 4 1/4 incrementally over the last X number of years, 40 years,
decades
for everyone to get paid that. And again, the state is going up incrementally the entire time. Everyone in the entire state is going up at the same time. In these instances, we're talking about doing it in 3 years in a city.
In 5 years. Yeah, here in DC, it's 5 years.
And it would be the first place east of the Mississippi. And of course, obviously, the first place that Rock or One Fair Wage had ever been successful. So there are a number of states that have increased their minimum wages over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. And in those states like New Mexico, New Jersey, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Missouri, the list goes, Virginia, Maryland, DC, all of these states have increased their minimum wages while leaving the tip credit and the tip wage in place, intact, wherever their respective location. And these are locations with Democratic full control in that they have the House, the Senate, and the gubernatorial position, and yet they're still leaving the tip credit in place because the tip credit is not a partisan issue. It's common sense, pragmatic legislation, and it's most importantly what the we the workers want.
Right.
And also it comes down to what like the real law is. Like if you increase the minimum wage as it is, like that increases our floor already. We don't need to get rid of the tip credit for that.
Right. Because we are already guaranteed
safe.
the minimum wage at bare minimum, the minimum wage.
I think that's the most important thing you need to share.
Like, oh, you're not making any money on a lunch shift. It's like, yeah, but I made $700 the night before. It's like, even if you made no money the night before, you still have that fail safe that you're still going to make the bare minimum wage, which is now $16 an hour. Like you're gonna get your money no matter what.
Right.
Even
and like nobody. I can honestly say in the 27 years that I've been in this industry, I have not had one employer who's ever had to implement the tip credit. Not one.
Let alone I haven't had. I don't know anybody in the industry ever. Like I've never heard of it. Because
so maybe like a barback or maybe not the barback. So maybe like a food runner, or maybe like during in February when it's so slow that there's like no business, and like you have to implement that tip credit. You know, I mean, maybe.
I have had to receive checks from my employer to make up the difference.
Okay,
but
here
I
we
was
are.
working literally one shift a week, and it was like a Sunday
Tuesday,
brunch shift in like October, like late July and August.
Right, which is also slow
Which
time.
is like vacation season in DC. So I was like,
Everybody's out of
I'd get a check, and the check was for like $3.96. Like, okay, whatever.
May I ask? DC is tied to minimum wage as a percentage, correct? So as even, let alone you're always going to be guaranteed that higher prevailing minimum.
Yeah.
But as the minimum wage were to go up, your wage would go up because it's 66%,
The
right?
tip minimum is 1/3 of the full.
Right.
minimum.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the tip credit is 66%. Tip wage is 33%. So even as even if you were to go to 18, you'd go to 6. Right.
So something I also want to, for Sarah, for you, for your friends who might be wondering. So one of the things that is really frustrating for me as a tipped employee is that, there is nothing in the legislation that guarantees that we would make any of that, any service charge, right? So they're saying they just want to eliminate the tip credit, but there is absolutely nothing that guarantees.
They keep saying tips
employees
on top.
Yeah,
That's
like
their-
you're saying that tips on top.
What does that mean?
So
What does
so-
tips on top
so
mean?
tips on
Hey.
top. Sorry, so tips on top is interesting because what's the average, or what's like the median wage right now for tipped workers in California? Right,
16 and change,
right, and
1648 or
what's
something
their
like that.
minimum wage?
Exactly. I
Right,
want to
so-
say it's around 12,
So
13.
the
In bigger
idea-
cities, it's higher. Yeah.
Right. The idea is that whatever your base wage is, if $15 an hour, that you'll still get your tips on top. But we see that if the median wage for a tipped worker is 16 something and their minimum wage is 15 something, that's $1 an hour. That's $1 an hour of tips. What is this is I made this. This is great. But
It is phenomenal. It's one of my favorites.
you know what? Another one is the idea, like in DC, what's the average median tip credit worker's wage, and what's the tip credit, right? So the difference between the tip credit and what their median wage is always greater. So the idea tips on top exists is even in the states that they've removed the tip credit, it doesn't exist. The data doesn't show that. They should be making $15. They should be making $30 an hour easy, right? If they're doing tips on top all in California, but we see the model sliding, right? And I think that's something, if you're like, how do I show my friends like this conversation I had, be like, okay, if the average wage for a bartender in California is $18, but they're starting at 15, that means they're getting $3 an hour in tips. And that's where
Meanwhile, in DC,
which ROC has never reconciled. They don't like have a reasoning behind that and like why that is. They never explain that away, much to the fact that they don't really explain away anything. All they tell you is like, oh, it's you're a sex worker, it's tied to slavery, this is, the other thing that's crazy is restaurant operators, owners, and managers like myself, we're all pieces of shit. We steal from our employees. We don't care about you. We're all
also
scumbags.
millionaires.
we all
scumbags.
work
You
in
have
Satan's
multiple yachts.
brothel.
We're all
You have a bunch of
scumbags, and
yachts.
we're trying to fuck you out of your money every single day. So what do they want to do? They want to give it into a service charge, so that way I get your money now.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you're giving the
We're
money.
so
You're
evil,
giving
like
all the
I'm in charge of
control.
your
You guys
money.
are so evil, but now
So
you're gonna take complete control
that's-
of all my fucking
right.
money too.
Like-
Are you kidding me?
Like argumentatively, that just
Back
doesn't
the
even
fuck off
that
my
makes
money.
absolutely no sense. Like if something is designated as a gratuity, I can't touch it as an operator. It goes on a different line. It has to go somewhere. Even if it's cash, there's some states that like cash is only dealt with by employees. But if you're going to call it a service charge, that goes by sales tax. That's revenue into the restaurant. That goes to my bottom line. I can distribute that how I want, if I want. I don't even really have to. Some states will say that you do, but autograt isn't a voluntary gratuity from you to pay your employee. That still comes to me too. That goes by. So the idea that it would all go to me, but I'm the scumbag. I'm the one that's stealing it. I'm the shyster.
Yeah,
Right,
if I'm the scumbag, why are you going to give me the
right?
Why are you going
Why
to
are
give me
you
the
giving
keys
them
to the
all the
house?
money?
Complete control of my wages to the scumbag fucking owners. Are you like what?
Yeah. So something I also want to make sure that is very clear. So I know that a lot of people who who maybe haven't worked in the industry very long or just want to be just want to use this false narrative. So I was interviewed by what is it, DC News Now on Friday, and there was this piece. It was aired on the CW, and one of the people that they interviewed was Adam Eidinger, who is like a multimillionaire, a number one. He also claims 2 residences, one of them in Maryland, one of them in DC, and he lives primarily in Maryland. So he is absolutely misrepresenting himself. He also claimed that he was a restaurant worker, which he definitely has not been in the past 20 years here in DC. One of the things that he said to the reporter that the reporter reiterated is that part of the reason why this would be cheers.
Yeah, fucking shot time.
Yeah.
For no reason.
So one of the things that one of the arguments that he was giving for, and again, this goes to how they exploit crisis. Marcus, take this off because this is not
they
relevant.
mess with like hot
so
button issues,
they
they trigger
exploit
people's emotions with hot button issues.
So
racism,
one of the things that he mentioned was that the reason why proponents of 82 feel very strongly about increasing the minimum, the eliminating tip credit is that if there is a time that pandemic happens again, something similar to pandemic, that people have to rely on unemployment again, then their unemployment would be based on the minimum wage and not the tip credit, which is a fucking lie.
That's a lie.
Yeah. Like, we all have to claim our tips.
made the maximum unemployment when we were all out of business.
Right.
Like,
so like to say that we were only making
I make $5
that
an
they
hour.
were so that they were basing our unemployment on our tipped wage
That's a lie.
is a lie.
It's a lie.
You know, like everybody that I knew was making the maximum amount in DC that they could possibly make, which was $444 a month. I mean a week, which is dog shit to begin with. So nobody could obviously live off of $444 a week.
Nobody can.
But like that's what the majority of the people were making that I knew who were in the industry, because it was based on our wages that we made, the tips minimum wage plus our wages that we by law have to claim and that we are taxed on. And so this is another narrative that they are using, they are trying to say that people that the establishments weren't tipping that they weren't paying employees the full amount for unemployment because they were basing it on the tip minimum wage, which is shit. You know, so Dylan, remember we went to that rally, right? Like in 2021, in February of 2021, when they were having this rally out there, and there was this woman. Yes, there was this woman who was a college student. Josh, you remember this? She was a college student. She'd worked in the industry for 2 months.
Wow.
And she was yelling and screaming about her horrible employer who refused to pay unemployment for her because she wasn't making the full like amount of unemployment. And I was like, is she stupid? Like, does she not understand? I mean, in all fairness, I didn't understand how the unemployment worked because I never had to claim unemployment.
That was
right?
the first time I ever had to do that in my
right.
life.
But like I found out with Googling and asking questions that like my unemployment was based on the last quarter of how much money I made, not just from my current employee, my current employer, but all of my employers that I'd had in the past quarter.
Ours in the state of Maine was measured on the last 5 quarters. All of my coworkers who were tipped workers, and literally every tipped worker that I knew was maxing out on unemployment
Right.
unless they were like a super part-time employee. Like and that's going to be how it is anyway, no matter what industry.
Was arguing and screaming about how her employer was not, giving. Do you not remember this? Like that she was like, and they don't want to pay me. How selfish are they? Blah, 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 blah. And then a person that is not named, that is not going to be named, got on and said, yes, can you imagine these employers who are taking advantage of blah, 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 and all this stuff? I mean, and I was like, they really do not understand how unemployment works.
They love to.
No, more importantly, they know they're lying. They're unabashedly lying. They know it, and they get away with it. And they're not.
Yes. So hold on. Wait. So yes, the people who work for Rock and One Fair Wage, absolutely, they know that they're lying. But the unsuspecting new employees who don't understand how shit works, they just fall victim to all of that, and they feel like they are being taken advantage of because partly they're entitled, and they feel that they are entitled to all this fucking shit that they did not work for. Yeah. Like, you worked in 2 months. 2 months. You'd never been in the industry before. You'd also never been in the workforce before because you were a sophomore in college. And then you're mad that you're not making unemployment. But they are exploiting that narrative and starting to push that narrative out to everybody else that these, horrible employers and restaurants and bar owners were not giving their employees proper unemployment. I mean, that's the kind of shit that they do.
They do.
And to be clear, there are some very small percentage of owners, operators who are scumbags, and
absolutely get them out of the industry.
They should be prosecuted to the fullest extent. They should be called out for 100%. It. They should be dealt with.
Yeah. The crazy thing about this is, when we talk about like bad actors, if I have a rat crawl out of my garbage, right? The neighbor's gonna call, and I'll have Abra show up at the restaurant and be like, "Hey, we heard you guys have rats. Like, what's up with that? Your liquor license is now in jeopardy." Right. I can go to an ANC meeting because there's too much noise. But if I have an employee complain to me that complain to the city that hey, this guy's stealing wages from me, apparently we can't do anything. Right. So we therefore need this new law. Like, the idea that we can't enforce anything is like one of the stupidest arguments I've ever heard.
Yeah, they're always like, "Oh, it's not enforceable." I'm like, really? Because everything the fuck else is enforceable.
Right.
You have to file this information quarterly.
So let's put the onus on somebody else, right? So we fought in 2018 against this measure. All of us, every single one of us here, we all sat 5 of us. We were all look at Laura.
So this is why, they lied.
So hold on.
I couldn't stand it.
We testified during a 16 and a half
19 hours you're there for.
I was there for 20 hours.
Yeah, we were there for a long time.
16 and a half hour hearing. It was probably one of the longest hearings in DC history.
Ours in Maine was outside of gay marriage.
Right. So we, as workers and industry folk, upwards of 150 strong, maybe even more.
I think it was
of all of us who, there are 253 people who were scheduled to testify that day. I stayed there for 20 hours. 20 hours. 20 hours I was there.
It felt like 20 years.
It felt like 20 years. 20 hours I was there in this windowless place.
Yes.
For I felt like I was going crazy. There were so many of us. There were, Marcus, do you have the other picture? There were 12 of the other people.
So let's give some premise here. Let's give some even further premise though.
Okay.
The people that are speaking up on that side, we've heard time and time again, I don't work in the industry, but I have a lot of friends that do.
They flew people in from California to testify. They couldn't even find actual workers in DC.
Yeah.
They brought people who also don't work in the industry to testify. What the fuck?
all
What
over
is
New
wrong
York.
with
They
you? So that's
flew
why
and
my
bust
stank
people in.
face is the whole time.
So look at us.
Yeah.
So this was at the end of this was at 3:30 in the morning
Yes.
when the chairman, who was right in the middle, he hit the gavel down.
Who's that chairman though?
He's my bae.
Yeah.
No,
That's
no, no,
how
no.
bad.
There were 50 of us at least who were still there at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is
Yes.
crazy.
Yes.
Now I've forgotten my point that I was trying to say.
Well, that we were there the whole damn time, like that nobody else does that. And why the hell?
We're a little echoey. Can we repair
Yeah,
that?
what you guys do?
I didn't
Sorry.
do anything. We haven't touched anything.
It's one of you two. Somebody did something.
We literally haven't touched anything.
I don't think
There you
anyone
go.
touched anything.
It's better now.
Oh, it's better now. Oh,
Laura. So my point being is that we made our voices known, right? Like we sat there, we testified. They had very few people who were actually testifying, and few people at all who actually were local. Look at Laura's face.
That's my boy Dave. Dave and I worked together at El Centro.
So there were very few of them on the other side who were there to testify. What they did was they pulled in people from California, from who the fuck else? Where?
But nobody from here.
Yeah, it's from
Everywhere. Like, it was
I-
mostly all from California. Almost everybody was coming from California.
I debated a guy from California at the Ward 3 Democratic nomination for council member. And the dude got up there and he's like, basically asked, we had 2 tip workers. One of them was Mexican. He was Mexican. So it was definitely, we had to like show racially because that was always a big thing. We were so white.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, do you have insurance? Because I have insurance. Are you part of a union? Because I'm part of a union. And at the end of it, when I got up to speak, who was the main lady on ROC side? Not Saru, the other one, like her first general.
Diana Ramirez.
Yeah, Diana Ramirez. She got up there and she said to me, she's like, because at the end of the day, and looks me in the eyes, she's like, you wouldn't hire somebody like me. And I was like, damn, dude, that's fucked up because like the racial makeup of my current restaurant is like 3.5%.
So that's what they had. So those are the people that they had.
They brought like a guy in from like Amish country.
Hold on.
Like,
So the guy down at the bottom is Dia, who is a valet driver.
Yes.
Parker. The guy with the beard in the second row up, fourth in from the left, or second in from the right. He was just like some political activist.
Yeah,
he testified with
remember
me.
the girl on the bottom left that Mendelsohn went into her?
She did not live here in DC.
She doesn't even live here. She does now, apparently, or did at the time. But she was running up ROC, the Bay Area. She was like the president of ROC Bay Area. And Mendelsohn was like, hey, I thought you said you live in DC because it looks like you
live in San Francisco.
You live in San Francisco, darling. Like, where are you? Like, what are you talking
the
about?
woman who was go back.
Caught her in
to
a lie right in the middle of my testimony.
The pro 77 people. So there's that one woman who worked the top row, third in from the left. She worked for a catering company.
Yeah.
She did. She wasn't even a tipped employee.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that guy on the left, like right next to her, he was not a tipped employee either. Like, these people were not tipped employees, and those are the people that they had to testify. Versus, and that graphic that Michael had made with all of us, those are strictly tipped employees. That wasn't even.
That was all of us.
I went through the entire clips to pull like who was a tip worker. Like I went like person by person. But actually, I have a question for Sarah.
Yeah.
So I've talked to a lot of people about this. I've had people call me a liar when I talk about numbers. I've actually had closed door meetings where I've opened up the books and showed them the P&Ls and said, hey, this is our like operating expense. This is how much money we actually make. This is like what everything costs. And at the end of it, it's like, okay, you're right. But like, still, I can't.
But still, I can't.
But
these poor workers.
These poor workers. The thing I want to ask you is, like, what is like the thing? What is like the like thing that's sitting in the back of your head that doesn't like flip the switch and be like, oh yeah, this thing is like so fucked up. Like these guys, like I've worked in the restaurant industry for 20 years. I started as a tip worker. I went to school for psychology, did nothing with that. And I worked my way up to GM food and beverage director. And
you did plenty with psychology.
It was said before, 100%. The biggest barrier to entry for me to get a server to become on the management side was they never wanted to take the pay cut. It was 100% the reason I couldn't get any of my servers or bartenders to take management positions. They said, I can't afford to be a manager. And the thing that I guess I ask a question for you is like, what do you think, what is like the hang up? Like, what is it? Like, I that's the thing I'm always like so curious about.
The hang up in terms of not becoming a manager, or
no.
The hang up supporting.
The hang up for you to be like, oh yeah,
So
right,
to clarify, like Sarah is 100% with us. It's her. Like
okay.
she has friends who
maybe
are questioning, who are maybe on the fence, right? And
so I would say the main arguments coming from the yes on 82 side that a lot of my friends are leaning yes on or like unquestionable on are, one, the notion or the belief that the eliminating the tipped wage would mean equal wage for everyone, and it would benefit people of color and females. Yeah, I know. And then the second line being that other states have implemented this, therefore why can't we? And based on what you've explained to me time and time again, no. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. And I want to like reiterate that, you know, to say to that narrative that women and people of color are making less money and making less tips than our white counterparts is so insulting. It's so offensive that like for anyone to think that that's the reason why they should vote yes on 82, then they should really question their own mindset about racial issues and equality between men and women, because that's not the case. Like it might, and you know, what Joshua had pointed out earlier, that is like that may be the case in other places. That is not a case. That is not the case here in DC.
DC is such
like,
a progressive city. It's unreal.
Right.
I'll go ahead and say it. White savior complex.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know damn well who the hell is
Yeah.
saying this shit.
Yep.
You know damn well who's saying this shit.
And,
Our white
and-
knights in shining
Right, but
armor.
unfortunately, it also includes
The most racist of them all.
but it also includes a very wealthy people of color. You know, it's not just the white people. It's not just white people who are trying to save us.
Yeah,
It's
for
the
sure.
wealthy people of color who believe that they know better
We're well
than
connected.
all of us, because we are dumb, we are ignorant, we are sad and pathetic, and we are being taken advantage of by our rich,
By our overlords.
like, you know,
it's
millionaire owners and operators, you know, and
it's that antiquated assumption that we work in restaurants because we don't have the skills or the education to do
Put some
something else,
context
right?
in that screenshot I sent you, bro.
And it's that assumption that's all over the place.
I'm over here
and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, so
right?
what are you
Like,
gonna do with your life after you're done with restaurants?
right. Right. And for me, like, I was a teacher for a long time. I have a master's degree from Johns Hopkins University in special education. I chose this industry because I made more money, but also I had more freedom in my life. Like the quality of life that I have is better as a bartender than I was when I was teaching. I was like, literally, I spent 8 hours a day running around the city doing therapy, and then I'd come home 3 more hours of writing reports. I don't want to fucking do that anymore. And I made less money than I do now, you know? So like, don't tell me that I don't know better about what I'm doing with my life. It's so insulting. And this is what made me come into this fight, because I was like, you're so offensive to me as a woman, as a person of color. You're offending me. So stop it. You know, like that's what really made me mad. And that's what made me join this fight. And that's why I keep fighting, because ultimately I believe that elimination of tip credit is detrimental to this industry.
It hurts the very workers that it purports to help at the end of the day. And to your point, like the people that are pushing back on you, the friends that you have that are pro 82 or were pro 87, whichever the case may be, the reality that like they think that they're doing the altruistic thing by helping the workers, but again, not recognizing that this again hurts the exact workers that it purports to help at the end of the day, over and over and over again, from support staff to those who are ESL to those who are most vulnerable in our industry to those folks of color in our industry. I mean, and back to the idea that like, people become owners by starting out in our industry with, as a busser.
Hey, I started off as a dishwasher busser, and I opened a restaurant by the time I was 33 and owned it.
Not to
and
quote,
operated.
I despise Danny Meyer with every fiber of my being. However, he said something that is very true in that with a heart for hospitality and a good work ethic, you can make an incredible go of it in the restaurant industry. And that's exactly right.
I mean, I've been a very successful chef in this industry. So,
because he eliminated the tip credit, and then what?
all right, you guys need to get.
Put it the fuck back on.
Oh yeah, get him out.
It's not sustainable. It's just not a fucking sustainable. Right.
Mind our technical sound issues. Sarah, what else are you hearing outside of that argument?
Not nothing. It's just, I think the main ones are just I think white savior complex is the best way to describe it. Whoever said that earlier, but also just the concept of, why wouldn't you want this? This will make things easier for everyone in the industry. And this is coming from people who don't work in the industry.
Yeah, so exactly. That's the thing.
So here's another thing that I want, like, Sarah, for you, if you come across these arguments and or discussions and you want to present it to other people, is that for me, and I feel like for a lot of people who I know and who I work with and who are my friends in this industry, that in my opinion, I feel like the issue of choice is like the main thing. Like, people should be the decision to make it to use the tip credit, to not use the tip credit, to implement a service charge, to not implement a service charge. That should be a choice for all establishments.
The ability. Excuse me.
Well, I guess fucking shot glass. I guess
no. I mean,
so for every place, like every establishment should have the option to employ it or not employ it, to use
it exists already, right?
Right. That option already exists.
And the option already exists. Work wherever you want to work.
If any business, any restaurant owner wants to open up their business, there's one asshole here in town who thinks that they're amazing, and at the end of the day, they're serving fucking charcuterie and their overhead is insanely low, and they have one kitchen employee serving stale fucking cheese and fucking, forcing people to eat like an Andalusian farmer in the 1920s. But that said, that's how I feel about it.
He's like, that's how I feel about it.
But that said, they're employing that business model right now, right? So they're saying that they're paying all of their employees full prevailing minimum wage. That ability for any business to do that exists already. And there's no paradigm, workers are not fighting to get in there. They have,
we can do whatever we want, work
they have
wherever we
Craigslist
want.
ads just like everybody else.
For any model
no
we
one
want.
is fighting to get into that business model because they get tips on top. It's a fallacy. And so and that's one place here in town. You would think that we as workers would be busting at the fucking seams to get in there, right? You get a full prevailing minimum wage and 20% because it's not reality.
Yes,
and
exactly.
So, but the point is that business model and that ability to use that business model already exists for any employer. So if you wanted to make that shift in the industry, go for it.
Yeah,
encourage restaurants on your block to do the same thing. No one is stopping you.
Or
that the numbers don't fucking work.
Right. So
about that.
Well, so what Michael was saying earlier, like if he were to want to open an establishment today, he can do that. He can open that establishment with no tip credit, paying everybody minimum wage or above minimum wage and like implementing a 20% 22% service charge, fine, right?
And
You
that would
can
be
do
part
that.
of his pro forma, and that's what all of his financing would be based on.
Exactly.
100%.
But
Well,
like,
I guess go ahead, keep going.
But my point being is that establishments should have that option to do that. Also, employees should have the option to
Work
whether or not they want to be working at a a place where they don't employ the tip credit, where they
transparency.
Right, there should be transparency, and where they if someone wants a more consistent, secure base minimum wage, and they know they're going to make 18, let's say even like above minimum wage, $18 an hour, $20 an hour, plus maybe 10%, ultimately they're taking home 10% of that service charge. Some people really want that security, and they should be allowed to do that.
And
I should be allowed to choose whether or not I want to work at that place or another place where they employ the tip credit, and I have a little more control over how much I'm making, right? How much take home I'm making.
Yeah.
Also, the consumer should have the choice as to whether or not, because there are a lot of, especially during 77, there were like all these things about like what you were saying, Sarah, that, some people were like giving you a hard time because you were like supporting these places that supported the tip credit, that employed the tip credit. But like consumers, of course, they should have the freedom to support places where they feel, if they
patronize what you want to patronize.
Right, fine, you can do that. But like, we should all have a choice, because ultimately one specific model doesn't work for
what's wild to me is they're taking the choice out of our hands, and it's going into the hands of a lot of people that are completely uninformed about how our industry works.
Sounds familiar,
right? What other fucking industry do you vote on how people get paid? The whole general population.
There's
how the fuck is this in everybody's hands other than our hands, the workers? No one should be able to vote on Initiative 82 but the fucking workers.
Right. So like
and especially since the pandemic, right? Like the way the landscape has changed since the pandemic, like it's not like we're struggling to find jobs as restaurant workers, right?
It's like a smorgasbord.
People
right
are
now.
desperate for restaurant workers. Like you have the perfect situation for this wage issue to play itself out in a competitive market.
Yes. Right. Like if you ever wanted to work for that top dollar restaurant, now's your chance. Go for it. Like if you were like,
let it happen.
Like you can't.
Right. If this model's gonna work. Yeah.
Right. Go where you want to go now. It is open doors everywhere right now. Work where you want to work.
So, and like the thing is that there are a lot of people who are like, well, there are a lot of establishments right now that are already employing the tip credit. Employing the 22% service charge.
That's fine. And like business models can
go for it
that way.
Right.
Yeah. And then to touch,
but also a lot of those places, are still employing the tip credit, and they just choose to give that service charge completely to the tip workers, right? So that's their choice. They're able to do that.
But can we say,
but because they still have that tip credit, and they're still paying their tipped employees that $5.35 an hour, so they can give that all to the tipped employees. However, once that elimination of the tip credit is implemented, now they're going to have to take that money and cover that increase, that 175% increase in labor costs for the front of the house, and they're going to use that to cover those expenses. And so that 20% is no longer going to the front of the house.
And by definition,
to everybody.
And by definition, the employer could rightly say to the government or whoever is enforcing, whatever entity that may be, that yes, those monies are going back to workers. That 20% is in fact going back to workers. It's going to subsidize their wage.
Right.
Yep.
It's going to
it takes in all
one
the
way or
control
another,
out of our hands.
It is exactly right. Exactly right.
Right. Everything out of our hands, all into the hands of our evil employers now. So that's so horrible.
And so it's also important to note that the same people who demonize tipping and tipping culture and the fact that tipping is based in racism and sexism and sexual harassment and all of their boilerplate language, right? Like they demonize tipping so vehemently, yet they proudly tote the phrase tips on top.
Boom.
So which
Very
one is
boom.
it? Are you? The reality is that we all know on our side that at the end of the day, what you're trying to do is eliminate tips altogether. That is your end goal.
So there was
Moran, the head of Raw, the head of
she
One
said,
Fair
I
Wage,
want to get rid of tips.
said in a press conference in Minnesota, quote, "Getting rid of the tip credit is the first step to getting the no tips at all."
Yep.
We all know that. Like you can't. But they speak out of both sides of their mouths on every single fucking issue. So they're like, yeah, tips on top. But the reality is that they're like, okay, one thing at a time. We're going to do away with the wage first, and then we're actually just going to do away with the tips.
Just get rid of
like
tip
that, because at the end of
tips
the day, they hate tips. They want nothing.
But why do they hate tips? So why are they doing this?
Say it.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know. So
I said, why are they trying? Why do they want to get rid of the tip so bad?
So I know this is like a super left thing about unions, but you can't unionize an entire industry if they're making better than union wages.
Right.
And that's what the fuck they want to do. We are a cash cow industry for them. They want control over the entire restaurant industry. They're looking at political purchasing power and fucking money. This has nothing more to do than. This is not about helping the workers. This is about lining their pockets and using political purchasing power. I fucking said it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, Rock and the SEIU
motherfuckers.
The Rock and the SEIU did a Instagram live just the other day. Their ultimate end goal also is to forcibly unionize the restaurant industry. Now, let me be super clear.
Forcibly.
As a proud Democrat, I am pro-labor. I understand the need for labor. I get it. I understand the need for unions in our country. I get it. I understand the need for it. But the first disclaimer for unions is that pay for performance is a full stop, right? So like, it doesn't matter if you're like faster on the factory line than the guy down the way from you. Everyone gets paid the same wage. Everyone is on equal playing field. There is no pay for performance. Waiting tables, it is in our entire fucking job description is pay for performance. Like that's our entire fucking job description.
Has anybody worked in a union? Has anybody worked in a union restaurant?
I have not.
I have. I work for the MGM.
So I have too. And the thing about unions is one of the major tenets about unions is you can't have management doing an hourly laborer's job.
Can't touch shit.
I can't touch shit.
God damn it. Let them fail. Let them fuck up. Destroy your product. You can't touch it.
I've had two really bad incidences. One was I had a guest in the middle of the dining room throw up on the middle of the floor, and I couldn't do anything about it because that was part of the cleaning crew, part of their union job. So I had to call down to get them to come clean it up, and it took
all
them
the
like
shit on the floor.
20 minutes to do that. I had another one where I had a server in the middle of a Saturday rush slip and fall. And she went down. She cut herself open and she had to go down for the night. So her entire section was abandoned. And I'm not allowed, if I go and touch any of her tables or do any of that work, it's a grievance against me.
And you can get written up. You can get
fired.
I
can get a grievance. I can get fired. I can get sued. So I have to literally watch the whole dining room go down in a blaze of glory.
You can't do a fucking thing about it.
Can't do a thing about it. If the hostess isn't at the host inn and you walk up, and you say, hey, can we get a table for two? 1 second. The hostess will be right back. Well, can't you just teach us at that table right there? I actually can't. Let me just wait for the unions. And like Josh said, unions were great when for what they are great for. Hospitality is not in the DNA of a union operations. It just doesn't, like that portion of it just doesn't really work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all.
It sucks. Anybody who's ever worked in a union restaurant knows that it's that shit that makes it like really, really bad.
So the quality of service is gone, bro.
There's no service.
And they're not going to chase you down for dues out of your tips, but they can take it out of your inflated hourly wage very easily.
All right, guys. Sarah has to get out of here. She has one more question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also moving to my charger because it got critically low.
So Sarah's a day walker, so.
I am. I do have to wake up early tomorrow.
And she's been here an hour. She's been here an hour longer than she needed to be. So let's all thank her for her help tonight. Because in reality, like her being here is like this is our opportunity to talk to the people in a sense. Like,
yeah, thank you all for having me. My last question is for those of us who want to stay informed and get ready to vote in November, what are the resources that you would recommend that Marcus could hopefully feature on this show?
That's a good question.
Is there no one? So there's a campaign of sorts. What is it? No on Initiative 82. No Initiative 82.
They have a no to Initiative 77. I don't know if they've. I haven't even checked the website. I don't know.
No,
I
but I mean, I think there's.
RAMW probably has something going on though. RAMW.
Yeah, I mean that's the unfortunate position is that like ultimately, you know, the people that have the resources to fight this essentially are folks like RAMW. But I think there is a ballot question committee or a ballot initiative committee or whatever the heck it's called in DC. And I think it's no on Initiative 82 or something like that. Started by Chef Jeff, I think, and somebody else.
Okay. All right, so we'll find it, Sarah. We'll get some of the information. I'll get it out to you, and I'll get it out to everybody else.
Andrew, there you go. Andrew says no on 82 is the committee.
Yeah.
No on 82 is the committee.
No on 82 is the committee. So that's
I'm sure there's no 182.com.org.net.
Yeah.
All right, let me look it up.
Okay.
And then other than that, Val and I sit on the board of Restaurant Workers of America. Restaurant Workers of America is fighting obviously both locations, both Portland and DC's tip credit elimination with my initiative here and Val's initiative there. So restaurantworkersofamerica.org. I'm at Mr. Tip Credit on Twitter. But other than that, like resources, like there is a good amount of resources on that website. Yeah. There is a good amount of resources on that website specifically that shows some data and some background for a lot of folks that are ignorant to this topic or just
Joshua,
not knowledgeable
what's
at
your
all.
website? What's your website, Joshua?
Restaurantworkersofamerica.org.
RWA.
Yeah.
RWA, Restaurant Workers of America.
Yeah.
RWA?
RWA. Well, RWA doesn't work. We didn't need to do RWA. Because that's the Romantic Writers Association, if you will.
Really, is it?
It really is. It really is. I think they stole RWA. I feel like that's who it was. The Romantic Writers Association.
We're talking about how we find resources on Initiative 82. Like, how do you, you know, like if voters want more information, especially from our side, where will they look? And
I mean, this is a pretty good resource. What Marcus has up right now.
And they're also talking about maybe looking up RWA.
Yeah.
Did we show our video yet, Marcus?
What video? Because I was gonna go.
So
my turn. My turn, Val.
So there was a video that was put out. I don't know, a week ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, about Initiative 82 and why we as workers don't support it.
Okay.
Yes.
Initiative 82 is not a pay raise. It is, in fact, a pay cut.
The majority of our wages are made through tips.
$16.10 an hour is nowhere near the potential of what we are able to make.
The customer is going to pay more money. The employees are going to make less money. It's going to cause prices to go up. It's going to cause hours to go down. Positions will be eliminated.
We don't want this.
We need your help.
Do not be fooled by the special interest groups. Listen to the workers in DC. Vote no on Initiative 82.
Vote no.
Yeah, girl. You guys got Ross in there.
Yeah, right. No shit.
Beefcake. Baby beefcake. Ross, what's up? No, he's a grown ass man now. He's not a Starback anymore. He's a grown ass bartender.
All right, this daywalker has to go to sleep now, but thank you all for listening.
Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate somebody from the outside world coming in.
Yeah, definitely have me on again anytime.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, good night.
Be well, Sarah.
Good night. Yeah, Dylan was supposed to be on there. Also, Jamie was supposed to be on there.
There was one of them
Ross
I
is
was
like,
on for a brief
guys,
second.
just say no.
So Jamie was like, Jamie may or may not have been a little bit he may have dropped a few curse words.
Imagine
Oh, wow. So he did a Laura. He was like, fuck that shit and no. Is it like his testimony at the hearing?
Yeah.
Where he's like, drop the mic and I'm out.
Thanks for scooping me in midstream there.
Yeah, that was like one of the most epic fucking hearings I think.
Alrighty. So since we got rid of the day walker, let's do a shot and then we're gonna do some TikToks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I'm about to go break the seal. So let's do the shot.
Yeah, you got poop?
Your camera's right here, Laura.
Oh, I know, right? I'm like, cheers. Cheers. But I'm going for you, Val. I'm not cheersing my camera.
Cheers.
I'm cheersing you. Bye. Don't worry about that guy, Marcus, over there.
Yeah, shut up.
Marcus.
So that was good. That was good. It was good for people
absolutely.
to see.
And Michael, like I appreciate you coming on
Yeah.
right now because you have like all the data. You
Long time listener, first time guest. Like, thank you guys so much.
That would be Valerie Torres's
Josh.
fault. 'Cause that's not my fault. That's her fault. She's the
love
booker.
you. I miss you. I haven't seen you. Literally, haven't laid eyes on you like in person probably in like 3 years. No, 2 years since pandemic because I did go in the rigs one time.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Michael, are you gonna whip up some
Alrighty.
fun graphics for 82? Do you have time as a day walker?
I don't know. It's like I got to get on my like ADD shit, and then like I
You
get
have like
down these
kids
rabbit holes.
and stuff. I
Kids
know.
and
I
stuff.
How about
know.
this, Michael? Fucking do it.
Yeah,
He
I
did
could
it.
do
The most
fucking
epic
do it.
shit.
I mean,
Also, he used to go on
that-
Twitter
Wait,
like,
hold on. How about this? How about you just take your
relevant.
take your
Yeah.
old ones and just change 77 to 82?
So here's the other thing. Like, if you look at
Yeah,
any of
pretty
Rot's
much,
shit,
right?
like rule number one, check the footnotes because they have to footnote it. Most of so when we were back in 77, when we were doing all that, a lot of their data was from like 2016, 2018. Like it was
Also,
it was
they were
so dated.
footnoting themselves.
That's right. Like,
Yep.
what's your source? Us.
So
What?
they did
What's your source of information?
So
Us?
one of the things
Okay,
they did
cool.
that like I figured out was they did a poll of like all of their members, their like tip worker members, and one of the questions was, have you ever been, and this is like sensitive, but they were like, have you ever been sexually assaulted? And then it was like 6% said yes in a restaurant, and they used that to say like
all of us.
like
All
like
of
6 in 100, and like then they like splashed it around, and they interviewed like 52 people that were from their own group, and it was like, and they were like, this, if we do this will lower it's just such a convoluted, twisted web that it only takes maybe 20 minutes to just look through it and be like, wait a minute, hold
That's
on,
some
time out.
bullshit.
Like, this doesn't make sense. Like something's not right here.
And
You know,
source
and
of my
The flawed data set.
yeah, and
But
they're-
unfortunately,
so
like people
much.
don't like the majority of the
Well, the
general
people who
public don't
aren't
wanna,
involved,
like,
people
you
like
know?
us who are invested, they're not invested. They don't give a shit. Why are they
Right.
going to research?
Read the headline, the end.
yeah.
Read the headline.
That's it. Most
No.
people don't even read.
Alrighty.
And
All right. So I'm a chef. And anytime
You are?
I was been asked, shut up, bitch. Anytime I've been asked to go to a table, I usually defend my servers to the T. Sometimes I outsmart the customer and make them talk shit about themselves. So this is a TikTok sort of in that same vein.
What's the matter with you?
No, nothing.
Oh, Bridget, are you sad about
Oh,
the
I
Queen
love this
too?
guy.
Wait, are you seeing a picture? Did you see a picture?
No, but I know
did
exactly
see
who it is.
But I know
exactly
exactly what it is.
Dude,
already,
Talbert.
too.
Hold on,
Yeah.
fuck it.
Relax.
Hold on. This one. See this program? I want to
What
kick
is
its
this,
ass.
Marcus?
You know what, Marcus?
What is this
Listen, I
garbage?
literally watched this from this morning.
I'm gonna go take my pee break now.
Hold up. So sometimes this thing doesn't want to load up because social media.
Oh, it's because we dropped the S and F bomb too many times.
Well, we'll keep talking and I'll try to add it on later.
Sorry.
I'll bring it back.
Okay, we're getting like
Yeah, this
way
guy is
down.
great. This guy's great because he does all these restaurant scenarios and we're all like, yeah.
Yes, yes,
We're like,
he is
yeah.
awesome.
Spot on.
Dude, his
Well,
name is
like,
on Instagram and everywhere.
That's like
Sweet Talbert.
another crazy thing is like I could suss out like who's legit and who's not. Like we know,
Yeah.
like we all have that like weird 100-yard stare. We've all like, you know, every single one of us has like
Right there.
every single one of us has like that Sunday brunch where we did like a shit ton of people and like 2 bartenders didn't show up moment. And like everyone has had that. And
all of us have been in it.
That's how we like share that. Restaurants are such a weird thing because we're not like blue collar. Right? We're not blue collar. We're not white collar. We're like kind of in the middle. We like work hard, but we're not like putting together like automobiles and shit like that.
Yeah,
like,
right.
But
I don't know. Like,
we also like
suck.
We also
we're in our own
party
suck.
and we do drugs and we drink a lot and a lot of us don't.
No, I don't. Our parents are watching that.
But that's where we don't get like.
Ain't nobody watching at 1 o'clock in the morning, mom.
Are you kidding me, man? My dad stays up late, bro.
But your
My
dad
watching.
already.
But
knows
you already know
No,
your dad already
my
knows
dad
you're a
actually
degenerate.
my dad actually went out drinking with my mom. They're divorced, but they went out drinking today. They had themselves my dad's moving in a couple weeks. So like he needed a system of support. He has like nobody to talk to. He's talking to his ex-wife, which is, again, they've been divorced like since I was born. They're just friends now. None of that weird shit. But like they had a nice night out together. I was like, wow, I'm actually glad I didn't join you guys. Cause they were like, hey, you want to wake up and join us at 11 a.m.? I was like, fuck, no, I don't. I just went to bed. No, I don't.
Always
Why?
next to a location.
Oh, you know why they met up in the first place? Because my mom wants firewood, and my dad is like firewood master. And my dad's like, yeah, I know all the best places to get firewood. And my mom's like, yeah, I want some firewood. Can we go get some? Hey, Laura, you want to go haul firewood at 11 a.m.? I'm like, no. Are you fucking out of your mind? No, but I love you guys. And I'm like, actually, I'm glad that you
firewood hook up.
Like, we had a really nice dinner together. I was like, good for you guys.
Good for you guys.
But then they got all night. Then they got drunk. And my mom was like,
podcast.
My mom was like, damn, did your dad get home safe? I was like, yep, I can see his ADD alarm just got off. Like, like it, I can tell when it's
So your parents getting back together again?
They probably will. No. That'd be weird to me. I prefer them divorced. No. They've been divorced since I was 5. That'd be so fucking weird.
Here we go.
Oh, but there's
Oh.
She's like, did your dad get home safely? I was like, yes. I can see that he
There's no
disarmed his
sound
alarm.
marker.
Mm-hmm.
I keep tabs on my parents. They're old. I watch what they're doing.
Anyway, is there more stuff about tip credit that we can like discuss?
Yeah.
Because
well, I will. I mean,
I want to blow my brains out about it. But like,
What's the matter with you? Nothing.
There we go.
Bridget, are you sad about the Queen too? I ate a whole box of Cadbury eggs. They were
What's his name, like,
expired.
Peanut?
It's just this guy at my table. He didn't like his chicken piccata, and he yelled at me. So, huh? What? Is that him there? Yeah, but Joey, don't. Let me at him. I got this. If I wasn't on my third strike, man. Excuse me. I understand you didn't enjoy your dish. Yeah, it was oversalted and rubbery. Oh, well, I feel terrible about that. And I feel really terrible because I was the one who cooked it, but my server was the one you tore into. What is this? Yeah, so I thought, well, I'll come out here and give you a chance to tear into me. Yeah, because I was the one who cooked it, right? So go ahead. Give it to me like you gave it to her, with a lot of spice, huh? And go ahead, don't hold back, I can take it.
This is outrageous and unprofessional.
Oh yeah, I agree with all of that. In fact, that's partly why they usually keep me in the back, because I got really shitty customer service skills. But see, that's Bridget's job.
That's Marcus all the way. They keep him in the back.
And that's why this whole
keep
fucking
Marcus in the
operation breaks
basement.
down when someone disrespects her and doesn't let her do her job. Because then I gotta come out here and nobody wants that, right? Right. So here's what I think.
This is 100%
You apologize
me.
to Bridget, and I'll make you a new chicken piccata.
I
and
fuck you up.
everybody's
You talk my
happy.
servers like that, dude.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
Great.
real, we always have each other's
Any
back.
other issues with the food? Nope.
Perfect.
All good.
All good.
Nope,
Yep.
we're good.
A little chill, bro.
Well, actually, my fries was a little zipping. Roll Tide.
So his roll tide, dude. I love that character he has. The roll
So
tide.
I have 2 regulars who may or may not be watching this podcast, and they're all about some Roll Tide, and I send them those podcasts. I'm like, Roll Tide, yeah.
All right, so we all know cats are evil, right?
Cats are evil.
Cats are evil.
Jimmy, what the f? Put that down. Put that down right now. Hey.
This
He
fucking
may
program.
be like,
Jimmy puts it down and then he walks away.
yeah, he just walks away. He's being nice.
And then his owner is like, Jimmy.
He's trying to
First
bring-
of all, the cat's name is Jimmy.
So again,
Rightly
shout out to
so.
another friend of mine. He has a cat named Jimmy. It's an orange cat. It's a complete psycho. What is it? Orange cats? Are they psychos?
Yes.
Orange cats are always
Right?
the
Like people
psycho.
always say
Yeah.
orange cats are psychos. Like, what is that? Is it like just is
Yeah.
it that it's like ginger? Is like
The
ginger
gingers,
soul?
yeah, because the ginger
It's the
soul with
ginger
like the
soul.
same ginger people.
Yeah, like just fucking soulless.
See, I'd
fucking
rather be
psycho.
called a ginger than a redneck.
Well, you were called a
ginger
redneck,
versus
so
redneck.
But you're not a
What
ginger.
about-
Deal with it,
Are you?
Marcus.
Close. My
Do you have
beard
a
is ginger.
fiery
My
red
hair is
bush?
All
black.
right,
I
guys.
got a ginger beard.
I'm
have a
taking my
ginger
2
beard.
minutes. I'll be right back.
Go.
Okay, thanks, Val. Bye. See you guys in a second. All right, talk all the shit.
Tai Chi.
Tai Chi is just
Tai Chi.
exercise for people who are too old to exercise. I went to the park, watched those old people for like an hour, and I learned how to do Tai Chi. All you gotta do, you get in your little stance, right? Okay? And then you wipe down a window, and now you get a blowjob.
Didn't play it all the way, but it's fine. Close enough. We got the
That's
point.
funny enough. That's funny enough.
Yeah. We know.
Is it?
That's funny enough.
Marcus, have you
Joshua,
and I met?
Did you have
No,
any
we have
funny
not.
TikTok?
We have not met.
Do I
Oh,
have
yeah,
any
you
funny
guys met.
TikToks?
Maybe you were. Did you go to? Did I see you at Riggs? I don't know. Maybe I did.
No.
Oh yes, you know what? One time because we did the
Maybe.
when we were doing the videos for the friends and family. We did a couple of those.
Maybe. I don't know. Well,
No.
nice to meet you.
No,
I'm
we
like-
never
That's
met. We've never
safe
met.
word
that's Mark.
albatross or bagel, either or.
We've literally never met.
Really?
Yes, Valerie.
Marcus, had you just come to the hearing, you would have met him.
Well, I was in Delaware, so that's.
No,
one
you were
thing.
not. You were not in Delaware. You were working, and I told you to.
I was
come
on my
here and
way
you said-
back from Delaware.
Nope, you were not in Delaware. You were
I
working.
literally
at
remember
Overroom.
driving over the bridge when you were yelling at me. from that
Marcus,
fucking taxi
you
cab.
were at
Besides the
Overroom.
point, I was just trying to introduce myself.
Valerie, I was coming back from
You were not.
Delaware.
No,
going
nope,
to-
nope.
I
Trying to
was
say hi,
going
trying to
to
say, hey,
the
what's up?
Overroom.
Nope,
Thanks for
you
letting me on
weren't.
your
You were at
show.
Overroom.
Appreciate it.
You were working that day. You worked at
Valerie?
Overroom.
Listen to me.
Let's.
I was coming
let's
back
refer-
from
No,
Delaware
I
to
had the
go
purple
work at
backpack
the
on. I
Overroom.
specifically remember it was definitely me coming back.
Jesus Christ. Thanks for telling me what I was doing that day.
I know because I have the receipt. Anyway,
I remember
Show
having
me
to
the
go liquor.
receipts.
I remember having to go through liquor inventory after that hearing. That
47.
really sucked.
oh my god! So do you guys remember when Rico brought the snacks
47.
Yeah.
at like 1 o'clock in the morning? He brought snacks, and we were all waning a little bit. We were like, "Oh man, this fucking sucks." It's so 1 o'clock
Yeah,
in the
I remember
morning.
like seeing like how many are they gonna skip? Like go, 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 go,
Yeah,
go.
skip
And then,
'em,
like,
skip
yeah,
'em.
skip.
Yeah.
That was crazy. And also, we have failed to mention that the anniversary of that hearing was
Mhm.
yesterday.
It was yesterday. Yep. Facebook reminded me.
Yes, Marcus, I sent you a few pictures from the
Animals.
Friendly reminder that this exists in the world and I'll never stop talking about it. Even though it looks like a zebra after God ran out of ink halfway, the okapi's closest relative is actually the giraffe. Now they don't look like they have a lot in common, but they do. They both have a long, dark 14-inch... Oh, tongue, we're talking about their tongue. Which they use to grab leaves just out of reach or just use as a Q-tip. They also both splay their legs to take a drink. Except giraffes do it because they're too tall. An okapi doing it is kind of like Tory Lanez ducking before he walks into a room. It's not necessary and you kind of look funny doing it. Another thing about this Klondike horse is you'll smell them before you see them, since they mark their territory with this weird tar-like stuff that comes from glands on their feet. And that's when they're not R. Kellying on everything for good measure. Now the reason it looks like a biracial donkey is because its biggest threat is actually the leopard. It might not seem hidden to us, but cats are actually relatively bad at seeing color. So these markings help it blend in, at least in a cat's eyes. Also, the markings are believed to help baby okapis follow their mothers through the dense jungle. Speaking of babies, apparently they don't poop for the first month of their life to avoid attracting predators. Anyway, moral of this video, he wasn't lying about why he was late to work.
Anyway, Marcus.
Anywho.
Yesterday was the 4-year anniversary of when we testified. They did send you a few pictures.
Speaking of corn, who likes corn?
Nobody spoke of corn, but yes, I like corn.
Yeah.
Ha,
I
exactly.
really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
Ever since I was told that corn was real, it tasted good.
Did you think corn wasn't real?
But when I tried it with butter, everything changed. I love corn.
I love this kid.
Corn.
Do you think everyone should be eating corn?
No, not everyone has to like it to be the best.
Yeah.
Everyone just has to try it. Have a bite.
What else are your favorite things?
I play a variety of games. Hide and seek, tag, Neville Lava Monster. Yeah, mostly corn. I mean, then look at this then. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn.
Oh my God, I love him.
Look at this.
It's corn!
Because corn is awesome!
Can you describe corn to someone who's never tasted it before?
A big lump with knobs. It has the juice. It's the part that mostly makes me like the cone.
How much do you think corn should cost?
$1. I hope you will have a corn-tastic day.
A corn-tastic day?
What? It's just a pun about corn.
It's a pun about corn. Look at his grandma.
If anyone loves corn, if you come to me, I can tell you all about it.
Do you like corn?
No.
Have you ever had corn before?
No.
That 7-year-old is now the ambassador for corn
Of
for
corn,
the state of North
yes.
Dakota.
Everywhere. No.
Legitimately.
There is now a video, a music video.
Yeah.
Oh, the remix
About
is
corn.
amazing.
I really like corn.
What do you like about corn?
It's corn. It's corn. A big corn with knobs. It has the juice. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing. It's corn. I can tell you all about it. I mean, look at this thing. When I tried it with butter, anything.
I mean, I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but there was one out there on TikTok that was like that this kid was a plant by like big corn and like big corn oil and whatever because corn was suffering and exports and imports and blah 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 blah.
No, dude,
But,
I think that this kid really loves corn.
this kid lives for the
Yeah,
corn.
his like real name is like
Love.
Jedediah Cornwallis the Third. He's like the heir of like all the corn.
Loves all the corn.
He loves the corn.
Oh.
It's the best. I was crying when I watched. I can't believe I'd never seen it before. And
It's
one of my
gone.
coworkers was like, "Have you not ever seen the corn video?" So we watched it in the office, and I was like, "Oh my God."
So speaking of food-related TikToks, if those, I'd hope everyone here has seen it. You could pull up Lulabalin. I believe it's Lulabalin. But he turns internet drama into some of the funniest videos and music videos I've ever seen. But he does one about blue cheese with Jimmy Fallon and an actress that I don't know her name, but it's hilarious. That would be a TikTok worth pulling up.
How do you spell his name? How do you spell his name?
Get it.
I believe it's Lula, Lula, Balin. Lulabalin, I think. I feel like on TikTok he comes right up. That's my guess.
TikTok. The ticky tacks.
Tiki-taki.
The ticky tacks, as Jamie likes to call them. The ticky tack.
So L-U-B.
L-U.
L-A.
L-U-L-A. B-A.
Balin. Lulabalin.
Oh yeah. Here he is.
I hate blue cheese. And blue cheese has mold in it.
I love blue cheese.
Fuck blue cheese.
Totally on board. I love it.
I love it.
I am actually gonna grab some blue cheese to eat right now.
See, now we want some blue cheese.
No, thank you.
He's getting up for the blue cheese.
No,
as we
thank
speak.
you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. It has mold in it.
I love it.
There is mold in blue
Most cheese has
dressing.
mold in it.
Not the cheese I'm eating.
No.
No, I don't want a Roquefort. No, absolutely not.
I love it.
Oh.
Ooh, speaking of cheese, number one thing I've ever hated working in a restaurant was a cheese cart.
Oh yeah, no, cheese carts suck.
Kill me. We had one. I worked at John George in New York, and we had a cheese cart, and I hated it. It was like the worst thing ever had to do. Cheese cart. And any time an owner or chef is like, "We should get a cart," I'm like, "You should fire me. Like you should. If that cart comes with a new GM, that's what you should do. You should get those carts should be like buy a cart, get a GM."
Cat hijacked me. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Wait, which one? Sonic? The
gray one? The gray skinny one?
Yeah, with the little white tail?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Sonic.
Yeah, he wouldn't let me
He's
go.
a baby.
He made me feel really guilty. I was just trying to go to the
He's
bathroom.
crazy.
And he was like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Fuck. Yeah, I gotta hang out with you for a hot second." It took me a little longer. Your cat would not let me leave.
Yeah, he's very aggressive.
I'm all about it. And cheers to Sonic.
For the record, it is now 1 a.m. and I'm eating blue cheese on smoked potato chips.
Yay!
All right, we're doing last TikTok and we'll get out of here, guys.
It's a waste of calories.
What?
Why y'all always next to a La Quinta? Don't worry about me and La Quinta. Me and La Quinta ain't got shit to do with you, bitch. How y'all senior citizens doing? Because those are the only people that go to AHA, bitch. Bitch, don't be mad at me because I got the AARP audience on lock. Let's talk about how all your cooks are also drug dealers. French toast in the front, meth in the back, bitch. Bitch, we out here getting the bag Malcolm X style. By any means necessary, bitch. Bitch, you almost as ghetto as Waffle House.
Who the
Waffle
fuck
House.
just said my name? My name's
Exactly.
Waffle House. I steal, do drugs, fight, and I got a Cricket Wireless phone.
Who out here talking shit? Nobody, Waffle House. We was just talking. Yeah, we was just bullshitting.
Yeah, that's what the fuck I thought. I don't want to have to fuck nobody up.
Bitch, I was so scared. You should be, bitch. He killed people.
Kill somebody with some fucking eggs, motherfucker.
I have so many stories about Waffle Houses.
Do it.
I have probably one of the most epic stories about a Waffle House.
Do it. Tell it.
was Christmas Day.
Mm.
And I think it was
So you're already in the spirit.
2000, Christmas Day 2000.
That was a long time ago.
I moved. I was in
Many
Delaware. I
moons
was moving a friend of mine from North Carolina back up. So we've been moving on there. We were hungry. Went to a Waffle House. Get to the Waffle House. I find some friends of mine I used to party with. There were 3 of them, head full of acid.
Can't stop you. Which Waffle House? Where?
Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
So I see them
base
early.
motherfuckers.
Then I get to Waffle House. Sitting in the Waffle House. Manager, big black lady. Cook, long hair white dude, just got out of jail. These two start getting in a fight. He's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." He grabs the spatulas off the grill, starts threatening the cook or the manager. Manager grabs a knife. So "I'm gonna fuck you up." And literally, I'm at the front bar, kind of like the seat where you are at.
Yeah, you're right there, like you're front and center.
You're like, "Can I get my
These two
birch
motherfuckers
chili?"
are,
Like threatening each other.
I was like, you got front row seats to the fight, bro.
They're threatening each other with a knife, 2 greasy spatulas. My boys who are tripping start banging on the door because the door's locked because the manager shut the door and locked it. So you got like 150 people in this Waffle House. These two are fighting. My trippy boys are banging on the door. "Let me in! I'm tripping balls. I want to eat some fucking pancakes." The scene inside, and everybody's like looking at each other like, "Oh, this is just a Waffle House. Yeah, it's cool. This is what happens." And like they fight, dude jumps on top of the bar, throws one of the spatulas. She throws one of her knives. Keep in mind, I'm sitting at the bar. Shit's whizzing by my head. I'm like, "Fuck, dude." This goes on for like 15, 20 minutes till the cops are called. That was my Christmas dinner in 2000.
Jesus.
That sounds fun.
That sounds like a great Christmas dinner.
Dude, it was amazing.
That sounds like a Ukrainian. That sounds like a Ukrainian Christmas dinner.
And he's like, so this wasn't chunked. It was smothered and covered, but like you missed the chunked part. Can I get that? Can you guys get that?
Yeah, I was like, what happened? What happened with the chonky?
Like, I don't know if this is a good time to ask, but like, could I get it?
But could I? Maybe.
Dude, I already had my food, so I was cool.
Can you push the rewind button? Do kids even know what that is these days? Push the rewind button. Be kind. Rewind.
Be kind.
If you go into a Waffle House, do know that there will be cigarette ash in your home fries. Just know
That's
that.
why they taste so good.
That's why they taste so good.
I would
It's
talk
going to be part of the meal
flavor.
I was talking to
that
just
flavor.
non-restaurant people last night, and I was like, we sweat in your food, right? Like, you got my sweat, you got my dishwasher
That's why you get
sweat.
that salt.
We sweating your
That's-
shit,
but we cook.
Like half of your cholesterol comes from a chef's armpit, bitch.
It gets up to at least 165, so you're good. Yeah, where do you think he puts the towel when he's not holding it? In his armpit.
And so when I do some plating, it does go down. Like, I'm like tucking that shit in. Tucking that shit in.
I sweat like a stuck pig in general.
Joshua, why are
and
you
I have-
surprised?
Wait, do stuck
I sweat
do
like a
stuck
stuck pig
pigs
at
do
work
stuck
in
pigs
general.
bleed or do stuck pigs sweat?
Marcus looks like Joker.
Why is that phrase "sweat like a stuck pig"?
I don't
Meaning
think
that like your skin looks sweaty because you're being
I was
smoked
wondering,
in a pit.
that's
You've
about
ever,
I
if
think
you've
they're
ever
combining
smoked a pig,
phrases.
if
That's
you've
a
ever smoked a
redneck
pig.
phrase.
Shh.
Marcus knows all about that.
So
It
when you're smoking a
sweats.
pig, when you're smoking a pig, and you're like glistening the sheen of the coat of the fucking pig, it starts like the fat's coming
Beating.
out.
Wait, that's a real
Sweat.
fucking
Fat,
phrase.
it's the fat's beating out.
It does
all over.
bead. I've seen it. Yes, it is.
Wait, it's
Sweating
beating,
like
so
a
it looks
stuck
like
pig.
sweat.
Beading.
It actually sweats.
Yes,
Well,
it does actually.
We
sweat.
learn something new every day, and
I
shooting
mean,
star.
it's not sweating; it's just the fat coming out of the fucking pores.
It's sweating.
So,
fat
but
is
when
So
sweating.
it's
I
basically
approach tables
frying
all the
itself from the inside out.
Now I
I'm
want
fucking-
some.
That's it.
I'm shook.
I want some fried pig.
But
You guys
I
want to go to
walk
Honey
into a
Pig tomorrow?
pig and blue cheese, bacon
I
and
know.
blue
Shout out
cheese.
to Honey Pig. Shout out to Iron Age.
Ooh,
I
But I
love me
walk
some
up to
Iron Age.
tables with like their check presenter
Mhm.
underneath my arm, my sweaty ass fucking
Yeah, it's
armpit
gross. Why
all
the
the
fuck do you
fucking
do that?
time, and they I
oh my
mean,
god, we had a girl at Commanders that did that, and she put antiperspirant like all over her face because she was like sweating so much. Because it's New Orleans.
Oh,
It's new, and I'm like, yo, girl,
No.
that's like not the move. Like, I don't know what the move is, but that's definitely not it.
That's
Like,
not
Some of the hottest kitchens I worked at was in New Orleans. We'd be in basements of hotels and shit, dude.
where'd you work at in New Orleans?
Cobalt, Kempton. I worked with Kempton at the time.
Mhm.
Again, this was
He
2000.
worked on the streets.
2001, 2002.
Mhm.
Marcus is for the streets. I'm sorry, Bradley is for the streets.
Marcus works in hotels.
Marcus is for the
And
fucking
it was right
streets.
next to the Intercoastal. So right
Marcus
down
is in
St. Charles.
Eighth Ward.
Okay, yeah. I worked at I worked at Commander's House and then
Huh.
Fat Harry's was one of my.
I live right down
restaurants
the
I
street
worked at.
from Commanders.
Mhm.
I was on 7th Street.
Every time you guys say that now, I think of
Good
our
stuff.
shitty ass fucking football team.
Mhm.
the
You do.
commies.
Butthole Commanders.
The Washington T football.
Butthole Commanders. Yikes.
I can't say anything otherwise. There was my coworker Alfredo. He's like the Commanders. They sucks, bro. They sucks. I'm like, fuck you, Fredo, but you're not wrong. Fuck you, bro. You're not wrong.
You're not
I'm
wrong.
like, fuck you.
They lost today.
He's like, they sucks. I'm like,
God damn it.
look, there
Stop
was-
doing that. Sorry.
That was us.
Hey,
you know what?
is there any last word? Oh, hold on. I got one more.
Yeah, there's the last word. You should pour the rest of that KG over here.
It's already in my belly, bitch.
Whoa.
Wow.
Like there was that much left anyway. you fucking-
My
know.
last
Yeah.
word is vote no on 82.
Yes.
vote no on question D.
The workers, the actual workers, we don't want this.
Listen to the workers, motherfuckers.
We went through
Serious-
this with
seriously.
initiatives. It is wild to me that this is back on the ballot. Oh,
Oh, look, there's me.
Heyo.
Hey-o.
I'm holding a wine bottle.
so bad. So bad.
I mean, 82
How
is
you
shit.
doing? Shot time.
77 was shit, and 82 is also shit.
They lied. It's the
Please.
same lies all over again.
Please vote no on 70.
I feel
on
like I'm
82.
in like a fucking fever dream.
70,
Like,
82.
70, 82.
77,
Vote
82.
no on 82 because ultimately 82 is 77 reborn. Like
It's the same lies. It's the same. They're gonna bust in the same people from like California, and they're all on their payroll.
The problem is that the council we have right now, they were not going to repeal the initiative. If it gets voted into law, they're not going to repeal it because the some of our strongest supporters are no longer in the council.
No, I think I almost feel like they lost their jobs because of that.
Right.
Shit.
And then the ones who
Brandon Todd definitely lost his.
He did, and
not because of that, but that was a strong reason why people voted against him the next time around.
And then also the people who are on the council right now, like most of them who had supported us in terms of repealing 77, they've gone on record that they're not going to
because then it's political suicide now. Like is the way that the DC Council is now, they're not going to do it anymore.
In the city of Portland, unlike our state ballot and unlike DC's referendum process, if question D were as to pass in the city of Portland this November, the city of Portland and the city council of Portland cannot touch it for 5 years. That is the way the city charter is written. Were the question to pass, city council cannot touch it for 5 years, and by then, tip credit is fully eliminated in 3 years, and the industry is already completely undone and completely gone.
Are cities respectively the only cities right now with the shit on the ballot for November?
Yeah.
DC and Maine.
Yeah, so they're talking about putting it on the 2020, I want to say either 3 or 4 ballot in Michigan.
And we know Michigan's been a hot spot for a minute with that shit too. But like our cities are the only ones coming up in November.
Yes.
Your city, our city is the only one right now.
And they've been burned by both of us, right? So Maine and DC did the exact same thing.
We don't want it. But they want, like I said.
But again, for them it's a notch in the bedpost, and they're back for vengeance. 110%.
Right. So we're fighting both places. We're fighting upward battle.
I mean, the reality is that fighting minimum wage at a ballot initiative is a very tall task, because voters think that they're doing the altruistic thing and supporting higher wages, allegedly. And so ignorant voters who don't understand the topic or have listened to the boilerplate bullshit from the other side, unfortunately think that they're doing the right thing, because they're doing the altruistic thing, right? And these authors of these bills know that, and they know that like legislators. Weirdly enough, we live in a legislative, a representative democracy. Legislators who know minimum wage law and know wage law and understand all of its unintended consequences, all of them will preserve the tip wage because they get it. The voters, who obviously don't get it and generally don't understand this particular topic, will just support it and vote yes. And so it's a huge, tall task.
Right.
And in a city like DC,
I mean,
it's
it really
very
is
tough.
so frustrating. And I'm fucking tired. I'm fucking tired of fighting it. I
feel like that's why there's not so much heat this time around. I mean, there is, but like we all got personally burned out on 77, all of us. Like, I mean, we got burned the fuck out. Now 82 is, and they know that. They know we're all burnt out. They know we're burnt out, and they know like we don't have as much. I mean, we obviously will bring the heat if we can, because we're fucking bartenders or service industry. At the end of the day, this is our livelihood. This is our job. But they're banking on the fact that we're fucking tired,
right? And that we have been also not just tired, but we are also traumatized by the pandemic. Like we were traumatized by 77. Like, I have a lot of PTSD over 77 because like I had to take time off. I had to really like.
I don't want to say their name unless they say like they're not here with us tonight. But like another person like me got doxxed too. Like,
right. Yeah, and a lot of people got doxxed. A lot of people were traumatized. A lot of people were like harassed during
People
77
came to our jobs
and
fuck with us. Fuck,
right.
man.
And so like now with 82, with the pandemic and the lockdown behind us, I think a lot of people are stretched thin. They're also just traumatized by all of that. You know, we were really affected by the lockdown, and
We're also just trying to come back off of 2020. Like all of us essentially losing our jobs, but being on hiatus from our jobs in 2020. Like I said, I've been working since before I was legally allowed to. I'm not, I'm not proud of it, but that's America. That's how we do. Like, that's the first time in like all the years that I've worked that I ever had to claim unemployment
ever in my life, ever.
And it made me feel bad. And I was like, why do I feel bad? I pay into this fund. This is essentially my money. But like, I was like, I felt like I didn't feel right about taking unemployment. I should be able to work. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to work, but I can't.
Any last words, my friends?
Last words are, where the hell's my KG?
I miss you all.
We love you, Joshua.
Dylan,
thank you all for having
By the
me.
way, guys, last words are, I did a smattering of beers tonight.
Grab his dick and twist it!
We're totally insane.
They push